This is the Extra Sheep, the unofficial Age of Empires 4 podcast, hosted by myself, Socerton, along with Beale, and we're excusing Sir Neville's today, but in his stead, standing in for him is the wonderful Askallad, who you might recognize from Rising Empires and the Warchief Club in the casting for Low Elo Legends. So it's us three today here in our virtual town center studios. It's been a while. It's been a long while since we've recorded one of these. We were just talking before we started that we kind of got in the momentum of not recording. And once you do that, it's kind of hard to hop back on the horse. So here we are, though. How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good, thanks.
I know Askallad's like pushing off night time for us right now, so we appreciate him all the way out in Europe late at night, staying up with us. And Beale's here too, I guess.
Yes, I showed up.
He showed up better than Sir Neville.
Just wandered in here. It's like, are we still doing this?
We are going to excuse, of course, Sir Neville's. The Detroit Lions. Actually, I'm actually excited to watch that game. The Detroit Lions are going all the way. I think every Sunday, I just am assuming he's getting like absolutely wasted. Because for anyone who doesn't know American football, don't feel bad. Let me just give you a brief. Imagine like the worst team, one of the worst teams in sports, right? And not only the worst, they just like have never won a championship, haven't even won like a playoff game, a postseason game in 32 years. And then suddenly they're winning, and suddenly they're winning multiple playoff games, and suddenly they're a game away from the Super Bowl. That's the Lions, and so they're he's a hometown kind of fan. He's from the Michigan area, so Detroit Lions. That's in Michigan. We fully excuse Sir Neville's. I get it, man. As a Seattle guy, when Seattle was going to the Super Bowl and being really big, when your team's finally winning after a lifetime of not winning, you just kind of feel good about it, right? It's like when HRE finally gets its big buff one of these days and are finally good again.
Yeah, go Lions.
Go Lions.
Go HRE.
Go HRE. I've got before we get into some news and stuff today, this will probably be, you probably have already seen, this will probably be a shorter episode just because we're just kind of getting back in the swing of things. It is a new year. And frankly, we kind of picked a good time to not record for a month, I feel like, because there's been no real big changes or updates. You know, we haven't really missed any coverage of anything other than I think there was a small patch. I think we already covered it, though. I think they had a small hotfix patch a little while ago before the end the new year. So mostly I've been just playing. I mean, I know Beale's been kind of not playing as much, but and Askallad was saying kind of the same. Caleb Calamari has been playing more AoE lately. But I've been grinding, guys. I have been grinding. I don't know if we said on the podcast that my goal was to hit diamond. I think we mentioned that, right? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, you're diamond dog now. We all said diamond for the new season.
That was the goal. I did it, dude. Oh my gosh. Before I did too, there were multiple instances. I think 2 or 3 times I came within a point, literally a point of being diamond. Now I'm sitting up there though, because then there's like that. What's it called? The imposter syndrome sinks in. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm really a plat guy who's pretending to be a diamond 1. But now every time I finish my stream, I'll play like 3 or 4 games and I'm consistently sticking that diamond 1 now. So I guess nice. I'm a diamond guy. I'm a diamond 1 guy, which isn't that high, but actually I say that it's getting up there, you know, it's starting to be respectable.
Yeah, no, that's a good milestone to hit. I know I was pumped the first time I hit diamond, although that was the end of season 4. So I hit diamond and did the cowards thing of like, okay, let's see what quick match offers for the rest of the season.
I definitely did that for a week. I definitely, like, when I first got it, I was like, okay, I'm here. I was like, I'm going to go quick match for a week. And I did something kind of cool. Cause I mean, some people might deride me a little bit because I've been playing a Ubids. That was what I used to get to diamond. And I know the fast castle's super annoying. Everyone's saying it's OP. It's not fun to play against. I've got mixed thoughts on that. I don't like entirely disagree by any means. I definitely agree to an extent with that sentiment. And I get it. I do get it. But I would say the thing I did, the reason I'm actually really comfortable saying I really am a diamond 1 guy is I went to quick match and I started learning how to play Roos actually. And now I've been carrying that this last week in particular, last week and a half, 2 weeks. I've been playing Roos on the ranked ladder and I'm still diamond 1. I haven't lost ground. I'm actually sticking right where I was. And that's with playing the most annoying civ against me multiple times.
So what you're saying is you went from the top 4 civ to the top 3 civ and you stayed on your level, right?
I wasn't gonna bring it up.
yeah,
I was gonna let him celebrate.
I was gonna say,
oh, you went. Oh,
I want
Bruce.
to point that out, though. I want to point that out, though. No one is gonna look at anyone who plays Roos and go, "Oh, you're playing an OP civ." Why does? And I know
I've been doing that for the last 3 seasons, but
I want to raise that point because I feel like people are so vehemently against Ayubids, but then like Roos has been good for a freaking year, and no one is calling for them to be nerfed.
I'm just calling for them to be raidable in Feudal Age, and then they're fine. Like, yeah, they're really strong, but that's fine. I just want it to be fun to fight against something, and it's not fun to fight against Ayubid Fast Castle.
It's literally just the Kremlin. I think that literally is it. If the Kremlin didn't have the Gremmies popping out to defend, I really think they'd be still a good civ, but not what they are. Yeah, I just think
Remember
it's interesting.
3 seasons ago when everyone was saying Golden Gate is the best landmark in the game?
Yeah, it's still
okay,
is
right
really good.
after Aachen Chapel.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing, right? Is like that. I mean, the best landmark in the game should be Aachen Chapel and Golden Gate. But honestly, I have to say the best landmark is the Kremlin because it's used beyond anything else. Its advantage it gives Roos to do that is just out of the world. It's just it's
basically, do you want a free second town center without being harassed?
Yeah.
Landmark.
Well, and the problem with and everyone gets really mad at Ayubid's Fast Castle because they don't like to play against it.
I do.
But I look at like Zushi's Legacy though, and they're castling faster than Ayubid's with the same kind of tempo and usually dropping like a TC as well. I feel like there's this weird moment right now where like a couple of civs, it's interesting to see who hates on what. It's like, okay, like it's like choose your character, right? Choose your character. Do you want to hate on Jushi? Do you want to hate on Joan of Arc? Do you want to hate on Roos? Or do you want to hate on Ayubids? Or like an English longbow, like for some random reason. Like everyone like has their one thing they like will like foam at the mouth over about how much they hate and then like ignore the other problems with the other civs and why they're busted and broken.
So you did say that Kremlin may be one of the like best landmarks in the game, but Jushi and the Meditation Gardens is nuts. And the fact that it's still glitched. So like you don't even have you have a negative incentive to
explain that glitch in case anyone doesn't know.
If you take it down, then you're just sabotaging yourself.
Yeah, you guys explain that. Explain just in case anyone doesn't know. Let's explain what the glitch with the Meditation Gardens is. Actually, let's just tone it down even more. I know some people know, but just in case someone doesn't know anything about this landmark, can you guys teach me about the Meditation Gardens?
Yeah, you drop the Meditation Gardens, and based on the resources around it in a certain vicinity, you'll gain passive resources. So if there are berries or gold mines, stone deposits,
and wood.
Yeah. Depending on the density of the resources around the Meditation Gardens, when you build it, you get a different amount of passive resources. And depending on the map generations, you can find some insanely cracked spots to drop it. And the passive resource generation, you can get like around 100 resources per minute.
Oh, I've seen more. I've seen way more. I've seen up to about almost 200 plus.
Mm-hmm.
So Silva, Malian, what's it called? The Manza Quarry, it gives 75 gold or stone per minute. That's pretty good. That's a good baseline, right? I've never. Then you drop down that Meditation Garden with like 180 resources per minute, and you just think to yourself, okay. Seems nice.
Well, not only that, you get to choose what resources you want, right? You can kind of pick and choose what types of resources you want to go with it. Whereas the Mansa Quarry, it's just stone or gold, which is good. But like, yeah, the Meditation Garden is good. Now the exploit though, the exploit about the Meditation Gardens, what happens when you tear it down and then rebuild it?
Yeah, so
it snapshots again and adds it. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it just doubles the amount of resources generated per minute once it's rebuilt. So you do have situations where I've seen some Zushi players just build it so far forward to try to bait out the opponent to destroy it so that they can rebuild the gardens. later in the game and just have an insane amount of resources per minute.
I mean, I've walled in a forward meditation garden before and was gathering the berries under it with 10 villagers. So for every villager in the vicinity, or for every unit in the vicinity that your opponent has, you get 10% less effectiveness. So that was nice.
Yeah, and then that's my big problem with this is I have a hard time liking passive generation of income. I think that inherently is not great for a couple of reasons. And part of that is the lack of counterplay, right? And now everyone's going to go, oh, but Socerton, there is a counterplay, right? Just park your units on the meditation gardens. It's like, okay, that's not really feasible, but also only a 10%, like only minus 10% isn't huge. I have to park like 10 units plus on that thing and just keep them there. Usually the meditation gardens is in a place that's more defendable. And then you can't tell me that that's really counterplay, right? And the fact that if I tear that thing down, it just gets built up. And I don't know how they haven't just hot fixed that yet. Like that seems like such a huge thing they need to fix. If they don't fix that in this patch, I swear that everyone's joking that like what's going to happen in this patch is like another Byzantines nerf. Like, I feel like there should be a patch coming soon. We know that they announced something for January or late January, early February. So any day now, we're kind of just waiting to see when a patch is going to pop up. Actually, now that we're recording this episode, it's almost guaranteed that it's going to happen the day I post it. So on Tuesday, it'll probably be live for all we know. But yeah, Jushi's is that's the one. I guess that's my main character, right? That's my character I picked to froth at the mouth over is Jushi's. That's the one that infuriates me because I've kind of gotten over Joan of Arc. She's annoying, and I want things to be fixed for that. But I can't look at her and honestly say she's overpowered. Well, she's a little overtuned. I mean, she's pretty tough. There's a game I had. I should show you guys this. I want to have Askallad or someone look at it, or maybe have 10-4 Timcast. I was gonna have someone look at it. I played as Roos, because now I'm a dirty Roos player. I can't win. I really can't win with what I pick. Now that I'm a dirty Roos player,
you could pick HRE.
I used to, and then I was
Everyone
sitting in
would
gold
love
2.
you.
I was sitting in gold 2, and it sucked, and I was one-dimensional. And everyone got mad that my fast castle was 722, and I was being told I'm a dirty HRE player. So I really can't win.
Order of the Dragon, man.
Order of the Dragon. There we go. That might be the one. It's hard to not respect Order of the Dragon, but I've had people mauled about everything. Actually, I really enjoy English English Ville rushing. That's been really, really fun to do against Zushi.
Okay, against Zushi, because those words coming out of your mouth was like, all right.
I have said every time I do it, I feel dirty. I feel evil doing it, and I feel like I need to go repent and like cleanse myself of my sins. But
against Zushi, no, that's fine.
Against Zushi, it feels fine. I'll also do it against Ayubids, and I don't feel bad about it because I've had it done to me. And Joan of Arc,
spreading the pain. Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of places I'll do it too. What was I saying? Dang, I totally got off track. What I was trying to say. Something about Zushi's. Oh, Joan of Arc. I was playing as Roos, and I was raiding the crap out of this guy. He went for mass knights, obviously, and then he had a bunch of archers. I went for my own knights, and I had my own archers, and I was winning fights left and right. I went for 3 TCs eventually after a little bit. On my eco, I was raiding his eco behind it. He had 20 vills. I had 100. He lasted until Castle Age because his freaking Joan of Arc just kept pushing in and kept trying to ram rush me right into my face. And I was like, man, how is he still able to field an army? Because I was winning battle after battle. And literally, I swear most of it was just Joan of Arc and just that heal ability and just how tough she, there's no incentive. She got up to age 4, but he was stuck in feudal age, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was like, how is he not dead? I'm up in age. I've got 3 TCs. He's got 1. I was raiding every single villager he had trying to end the game. And I'm like, he's still coming at me with 20 knights and a level 4 Joan of Arc. And he just kept ram rushing. And someone was telling me, well, you don't have to fight her. And I'm like, well, what do I do? Just let him send rams and crush my base out? He had like 4 or 5 rams at one point and tried doing that feudal push, as I was eco booming. And it took a long time for me to close that game out. I mean, it was because Joan of Arc just was getting all this XP because I had to fight her. So I don't know. I feel like there needs to be an incentive still to fight Joan of Arc as the opponent. There's got to be some kind of risk and reward, some kind of counterplay. Besides, because I did the rating thing, and eventually it won me the game. To my credit, it did work. It just took forever, and it wasn't fun. He was down to 20 vills. Kid you not.
when you feel like it's such a slouch to just kill someone, you think you're like, yeah, I've killed about 100 villagers at this point. How is he still alive? How does that work?
Yep, I was completely aghast. I just had no idea what was, and I was like, it's like that scene in Emperor's New Groove where they're like, wait, how'd you get here before us? And she's like, how did we, Crunk? And he pulls down like the map and he's like, yeah, by all means, it doesn't make any sense. That's how I felt, like full stop. She's a bit weird. There needs to be some kind of detriment to killing her, because having her pop right back out is awful. But to kind of loop back again though, I feel like there's like just so many civs that have, I feel like you could complain about every mechanic of every civ. So I kind of start hating myself for hating on Jushis too much, because I just feel like, well, I don't want to hate on all the civs so much, because clearly they're all broken in some way or shape or form. But then I play against a Zushi player and I start frothing again.
Here's my suggestion for next episode. We will be making a tier list for the least hated civs.
I like that idea. I like that idea. I mean,
everybody loves the Abbasid.
Abbasid Trade Wing. Hello.
So yeah, you put that on like a.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I was gonna say Delhi, but having that feudal pressure sucks.
Delhi all in. Sorry.
Yeah, Delhi all in like sucks to deal with. Dare I say French? Has French gone from heel to hero?
I mean, lower, you certainly do see people complain about the French on like golds and plats. They're just like, who can't deal with the raids.
But like, what about like plat and above though? Like plat and above, would we say that French at this point is like I mean, to me, I feel like it's refreshing to see French above plat now.
Yeah, no,
French nature are very, very regular, normal, like moral. Let's just call it moral.
Well, I'm going through. I'm taking a look just at a list of civs and just mentally being like, "Yep, that's what tilts me about this civ. Yep, I get tilted about this with this civ." Just going down the list.
Like, there's something for every single one.
No, I got something for all of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Japanese is really difficult. I think Japanese is the one I feel the most okay with as far as everything goes. I feel like Japanese is difficult, but I don't know. Japanese is one that I don't hate as much, even though they're not a bad. Japanese is probably the best civ that I don't dislike, if that makes sense. Like, they have the best power spikes and the best design and the most powerful compositions. Not that overall. I'm just saying, like, for how good they are, I don't hate them as much as I hate other civs, if that makes sense.
I guess the Byzantines might be the most loved.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe.
I don't know. That gold, when they start doing the gold thing and the Maslimatane, I'll say there's a couple things they can do. And the fact that they just have a counter to everything, they're one of the most reactive civs. Like,
I'm trying to think of like so I'm queuing up for ranked. I'm already like, I've got 2 losses in a row, queuing up again. We're at the like match screen right before the game's loading in, and civs that I'd rather see, like civs that I don't immediately go, oh shit, this is gonna be rough. I don't mind seeing Japanese, French, Byzantines.
Yeah.
Depending on the civ I'm playing, like
Abbasid, I don't mind
seeing English. Honestly, unless when I was playing Abbasid, I did mind seeing that, but
as a Ubids, I didn't like it as much because I kept getting Vil rushed. But then I started doing it myself, and I've really come to enjoy the dark side just a little bit.
Yeah, don't mind playing against an Abbasid player either.
Can I just say, I actually don't mind going against an Ubids player. Maybe it's because I know the civ well enough by playing it, but I don't feel like it's actually that hard for me to play against. Genuinely.
I've got to make just a New Year's resolution to like play at least one match every single day.
Wow.
Just because I've been
one.
Or at least
7 a week or so.
Maybe it's like cumulative. Like if I miss a day.
Yeah, so 7 a week, seven games a week at least. You know, yeah. That's a good way to keep going up.
Yeah, because I've definitely, in between the release of the latest patch and now. I haven't played a lot, but I am sitting tight, excited for whatever they roll out next.
Yeah, I think the patch is going to be really good. I'm like, I feel like this last patch was really interesting because they used such kid gloves with Joan of Arc, and then they like nerfed Byzantines a lot, which some of those changes, I think we said even then a couple episodes ago, like, I don't feel like we're bad. I just feel like the problem with Byzantines is it takes a long time for them to get going. Once they get going, you can't stop them, but it just takes a while for them to get going. Their feudal game doesn't feel great at all. And this game, I think the problem right now is certain civs, I think, would be viable if the overall meta, because you got the meta for each civ, right? And then there's the overarching meta throughout the whole game. Because the overarching meta used to be 2TC play. 2TC or 3TC, like booming, right? That used to be the overarching meta that like, that's what the best players did. Now you do see 2TC still. They've nerfed the price. The price is heavier now with the stone increase, which is like almost a year ago now that they did that. But the feudal aggression has just skyrocketed, right? Like that has become such a big thing. And I think one of the counters to that is to fast castle, which is why I think certain civs that do that get a lot of flack. I'm thinking of like a Ubids in particular. It can really thwarts the overall meta by just castling up before you can do anything. I think that's why people hate that civ so much. Same with like Jushi, right? Because Jushi, could do the overarching meta of just all-in Zug Rush, which is really oppressive, or they could fast castle, or they, and so I think a couple civs that can kind of break that mold and upend the overall meta end up being more disliked than others. Because Delhi is exactly the kind of civ that's in meta right now, of just full feudal aggression, like potentially getting some eco bonuses from like the sacred sites, or maybe dropping another TC eventually, but they could just go 1TC and just play. Whereas Roos could do some feudal aggression or go 2TC. Like it's kind of the meta. I feel like the fast castle isn't really liked right now, isn't really the meta right now, except for like the outlying Ubids is like the one that does it, or maybe Zushi. Those are the two fast castle civs. HRE,
you got Japanese as well.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Mounted Samurai is pretty strong.
They also can play a pretty good feudal game, I think, as well. They can own a Geisha Rush, or they can go multiple town centers. I think that's why I like Japanese. They don't feel like their castle timing isn't oppressively fast, nor is it overly impressive. Same with their 2TC play, same with their 1TC all-in. I think all those feel like good, but not exceptional. And so I don't feel like they rise above the rest to being like hated, Whereas like a Ubids can castle up in like, usually you've got 7:45, 8:15 is kind of the optimal timing. And then they get Gulams in your base before 10 minutes is kind of the goal.
I really wish it was true, but Ubids click up at below 6 minutes.
Yeah, but they're not, I'm counting like when they get into castle, right? Because I'm counting
like
when they
know
reach
how
it.
long advancement doing takes. I think like 40 seconds.
It takes longer now. No, it's longer than that. Because they increased it by 15 seconds a while ago. At the latest hot patch actually increased it. It's like what is it? They added 15 seconds to it, so it takes quite a while. Because my normal feudal timing was 4:12, and then it increased to 4:36 or so because of the extra 15 seconds or so they added.
It's more like when you try to counter it, it feels really bad, because even if you rush your aggression in, unless you're going Dark Age, by the time you arrive, they will be about 100 resources away from clicking up.
Yeah, and it's because they don't need. The problem is because they don't need that much resources, right? So that's the real crux of it. Is their castle is just super cheap. Same with like Zushi, like their age ups are just super cheap. And that's why I think it's you can't really deny it. There's no counterplay because you can't deny the age up, because unlike HRE, they have to get all 1,200 food, 600 gold. Whereas with Zushi and Ubids, having that cheaper means you don't have time. The window to deny it just doesn't exist. Unless you like Dark Age shenanigans, which I don't think is a bad idea. I think I've seen some success with that.
It's very Civ dependent. So
yeah, that's true. Dark Age ability to do Dark Age stuff is very Civ dependent. That's why I think actually English is in a pretty good spot right now. I would say across the board, English is actually in a much better spot than it was. It used to be like bottom tier. Like I think at one point English was like on BCQD's tier list at least. I think it was like bottom, like dead bottom next to I forget what the other one he had down there was. It was like just bottom tier, like bottom rung trash, or maybe just like D tier, maybe just a bit above it. But I would say that like English now, with the ability to do almost anything, like they can fast castle easily. They got the cheaper farms. The longbow rush is still completely viable. And then the Dark Age shenanigans with the villagers having that 5 arrow damage each. I mean, you send 5 villagers over to your opponent's base, they 2-shot an opponent's villager, unless it's Order the Dragon. So that's powerful stuff. I think English is actually in a good spot right now. I've had some fun with them too.
They're pretty baseline for everything. Like they're very average. It's good.
Yeah, they're like I would say they're just ever so slightly like above average. I would say if I had to like rank them as far as like the great bell curve of where they're at, I'd put them at like 51%, like just a little bit better than average. I think they've got enough going for them in the right hands. I think that falls off a little higher up in play. Like I think once you get to Conqueror, that starts falling off again. But up to like Diamond, at least, I think it's really not a bad civ. I think people shouldn't sleep on English as much.
They have that little spot in the sunshine because longbows counter Zuginu.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not in a head-to-head fight, though. I feel like in a head-to-head fight, the Zuginu will win, but the ability to kite them back, I think, gives them the edge with that extra range.
If you go head-to-head with the Zooks, then, well, you kind of deserve it if you're playing longbows.
Yeah. Oh, man. I hope I'm excited for this next patch. I wish we knew what was coming already on it. Let's get to
that note. Yeah. Okay. News. No, you do the transition.
On that note, to steal the words right out of Asklad's mouth, we've got some AOE news we want to look at, and you did a really good job. You got like multiple you copied and pasted images in this. This is nice. I'm gonna hand the reins over to Askallad. We got some upcoming news about tournaments in 2024. I love the first name. I love like Energy's Slapfest. I've not heard any of this. I don't know much about this at all. Take it away.
So yeah, supposedly this name is coming from the guy who's actually financing the tournament. So Matisse is the one who's hosting it, and he has a student. I did not get an answer on what kind of things he's being taught, but I'm just assuming it's going to be AoE. That really likes the community, and well, he spent a lot of money. So I think it's 1,500.
Wow.
Overall in the prize pool. So yeah, that's a lot of bucks right there. No, prize pool is 1,250. Okay, never mind. It's right there, and I literally can't read it.
That's still pretty good. That's still up there. That's about the same.
That's still a lot of money, dude.
That's like the same amount of money minus like 2 really fancy dinners.
Fair. But yeah, anyway, they did have their qualifier today, which I was watching earlier. I think it's actually still going. Let me restart Crackety's stream. Yeah, it's still going right now. I did not open the bracket, so I can't tell you anything about that. But yeah, that is going on right now. 28th of January, Sunday qualifiers, and then 4th of February will be the finals bracket. 8 players will qualify. So that's starting at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Central European time, I'm assuming here. Sorry, guys.
That'll be in the morning for us. I'd be like, I have to get up early for that probably if I wanted to watch it. But if you're on the East Coast, that's like you just are up drinking your coffee, eating your breakfast, and you'll be right there.
Yeah, I think you guys would have had to get up at 6 or 7. I don't know. Something like that. Don't make me do math on stream. But yeah, that should be a fun one. But I just put these tournaments in there just to, have a little bit of an overview of what's coming. So the Energy Slapfest is right now. We just had the War Chiefs Club that we switched to a monthly event. So we had the January one just yesterday. And the next one will be on the 17th of February. 17th, is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Let me take a look. Yeah, it'd be the Saturday. Man, now I want to get one of these months. I'll have to try and hop in and cast one of the War Chief clubs. That'd be fun. I've been wanting to do that again for a while.
Do that. And so the reason being for these dates, 17th and now, is because EGC is actually also hosting a tournament, the Elite Classic number 2. Every player that has qualified to EGC finals is directly invited, and then there will be the qualifiers which run on February 24th and 25th. So that will be Saturday and Sunday. And from there on out, it's like every weekend starting off until March 23rd and 24th, where the finals will be. And that's all the group stages and then the playoffs. So yeah, that's a lot of tournaments.
A lot of stuff coming up in spring.
Yeah,
That's
wow.
nice.
Big Classic, round of 128 for the first round.
Wow.
Yeah, they have it planned. There's a little disclaimer at the bottom that I didn't copy that says, yeah, if we don't have enough players, it's going to be round 64, and instead we're going to be running a best of threes one round early.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Well, that's still a big. I mean, that's a big group of people. I mean, that's really is kind of like throwing a net and catching the entire top 100 players of the game. That's going to be, man. Oh man, I want to cast that so bad. That sounds like so much fun. Ah, geez.
Why are you not playing, Mr. Diamond player?
Because I'm a diamond, not Conk 3.
Honestly, like tournaments like Elite Classics, the giant open qualifiers, and also the War Chief Club. I mean, if both are open tournaments.
I was thinking, yeah.
And especially, with the War Chief Club going to monthly, that means because it's held less frequently, there are pros like higher in the top 25 that have turned out to participate. Usually at War Chief Club, when it was weekly, you get some of the big name semi-pros, and maybe you get a pro every now and then jumping in to compete. Except for Divine, who is there like every single time. Yeah,
but I mean, the scarcity though, you're right. The scarcity is going to increase the demand of that. Like they're going to show up now, and it's going to make it a higher level event because of that. And I like, I do want to throw this out too. I like that you guys are raising the ELO cap for low ELO legends now as well for the top bracket, right? To kind of compensate for that.
We're not super convinced it's the right decision yet, but we're just going to do it, on a trial and error basis for now. So it's 1550. It's not really low ELO anymore, but
no, it really
is now open to like up top. What's 1550? It's like top 400.
Yeah,
it's got to be Conk 2 at that point.
Honestly, I feel like the only thing I would consider low ELO is the bottom bracket is the only one that feels like what I would say low ELO. And then it's like middle ELO is kind of what the other two are essentially, like low, middle, and then middle. Like at that point, like, I mean, it's like middle high. I mean, it's like low bracket is definitely like gold is definitely like low ELO. Like, I mean, but at the bell curve though, that's right in the middle. But as far as like competition, that's definitely like low ELO, like not being above like plat 1 for the bottom bracket, but then that middle bracket goes from like plat 1 up to like diamond 2, I think.
Yeah, two things here. I did want to, because I did mention like just the open tournaments, Elite Classic, the War Chief Club, mostly as like if you've ever wanted to like have a game against a pro player and see like how they played against you in a replay, to have that experience. Elite Classic War Chief Club doesn't cost you anything to sign up. I think Askallad, you had a game against Beastie in one of the
I got Villager Rush.
You got Villager Rush. Was it English or what was it?
It was Abbasid versus English. I randomed Abbasid into English. It was glorious.
Oh man, why would you random into that, or it just happened?
Because I play only random,
dude. Yeah. You're going against Beastie. You got to pick your A game against him. You got to like. There's
I didn't know it was Beastie. I just saw it was a random Conqueror 3. Like it wasn't called Beastie.
Just a random. Look at Askallad just casually flexing. He just randomly pulls Conquerors.
I'm not gonna look the guy up on AoE4 World because I'm randoming anyway. What's the point? I'm not gonna counter it.
Fair enough. I finally got my first Conqueror 1 that I played against on ladder recently. I lost, but like I thought it was actually a good game. Like it felt like I didn't feel bad. I felt like I actually played okay. It's been kind of weird. Diamond's a weird spot because you just get kind of. I've gone against silvers in Diamond and I've gone against Conquerors in Diamond. I don't know what the matchmaking is doing on some of these guys, but it's been really interesting. That's funny. I did not know you played Beastie.
Also comes down to just hidden elos.
Hidden elos. Yeah.
The way it calculates that, but also to the point, you and I were talking, Socerton, yesterday when we were casting low elo legends, that the play of the different brackets has increased so much. Mm-hmm. Like even lower brackets, you compare when I started playing in the bottom brackets versus like matches in the bottom brackets today, just kind of night and day. You're not seeing the same number of mistakes that you used to, for the most part. I mean,
you'll still see mistakes, but not like not like egregious blunders or anything. Yeah.
you will still have like the occasional like silver that signs up, and I feel like way more silvers signed up back in the day. And then middle bracket we were watching. It was just like, yeah, I made it to the finals in middle bracket before, but watching these games is like, in this grouping, it would be a real rough day for me.
Yeah, well, I think that speaks. I watched one of our Reddit posts is gonna be talking about what ELO actually is, and I was going to describe that. We'll get there when we get there. But one thing that I liked that I watched a YouTube video, kind of just brushing up because I knew what it was. I wanted to like really learn kind of some of the math behind it. And one thing that it mentioned in the video is that ELO is a really good system for rank matchmaking because it does a good job. It's self-correcting, right? The one thing it doesn't account for though is the levels you assign to what values are, because overall the entire player base will get better. And so you get what it calls ELO deflation, where like a higher rank is harder to achieve than it used to be. So if you're moving up the ranked ladder, if you have gone from silver to gold or gold to plat to diamond, if you've moved up like a rank, like gone up by 100 ELO, that means you've improved your game a ton over the course of this time. Because especially if that's gone over time, right? Because the entire player base has gotten better. I think Asklad's mentioned it. Beale, you and I were talking about it in the middle bracket of low ELO Legends yesterday. The player base has gotten good at this game. There also has been a flood of new players too as well, but the competitive scene is mostly us diehard guys who are still just grinding it out, with some new arrivals who are impressive as well. But like the overall player base is getting better.
So you're telling me I'm already worrying about like inflation and my paycheck's not going as far as I used to. Now my ELO is not going as far as I used to.
It's the opposite.
Like,
your ELO is going farther than it used to, is what I'm saying. So every increase, it's deflation, because now what used to be diamond would have been like, I guess it would have been like Conquer back in the day. But if you achieve something now, if you get up to like Conquer 1, that really does mean. Remember back in season 1 when like every Joe Schmo got up to Conquer in season 1?
Well, I feel like that was just
I didn't, because I only played 6 games.
Yeah. I mean, I did, but like I saw a lot of posts back then of being like, oh look, there was a lot of talk about how it was really easy to get to Conquer 1 back then. That's not the case now. If you do get up to that, it's worth a lot. I mean, worth whatever it means to you, obviously, but like it shows there is some like validity to saying that was a huge achievement to get there. Like it's a lot harder to do that now than it was.
Yeah, I mean, you've got plats and diamonds, and like that's where I'm around, but I tend to look at, okay, where's my ranked matchmaking ELO on AoE4 World? Like staying in the 1200s has been like, once I know I'm in the 1200 area, I know I'm doing pretty well. And I just looked mine up, and I clearly have had a bad season after the first like couple of weeks. But that has been like my benchmark of like, okay, I've improved. That was my first like diamond on the rank side was a big like, okay, because it's shiny and it's on your profile. But my first goal that I ever had in AoE4, like attainable goals, was like, okay, make 1200 ranked matchmaking ELO and stay there for a bit. And that's what I use like as a personal benchmark of where I'm at. And I do wish AoE4 Worlds tracked the rating history by hidden ELO and not just rank points.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'm not quite understanding.
It should be fairly easy to do.
It doesn't make sense because I'm looking at mine right now. Like my points are 1211. So I am Diamond 1, but my ranked matchmaking ELO is actually higher than that. It's 1261. So I am under what I should be according to my ranked match ELO. I'm pulling higher level opponents than my actual ranked points would suggest by about a game or two, by about maybe 1-2 games. Actually, almost 2-3 games, because it's about, you're going to get about 18, 19 points a pop if you're battling equal and even opponents. Yeah. That's definitely, if anyone hasn't checked out their profile on AoE4 World, I highly recommend that actually. You can learn a lot about like what you do well at, what you don't do well at. It's really fascinating to see. And I love going through the game summary actually. Going through the game summary and seeing kind of like the different, because it'll actually list out like each of your build order and your opponents. It'll say at what time did you queue up 4 villagers. Like it'll say every little details in there. Super duper awesome.
Shout out to Janner in the Gridbar Discord, who absolutely loves the game review feature on AoE4 Worlds. For those of you who are in the Gridbar, he loves posting in. We've got a channel just for gold players, and I feel like at least 5 times a week he'll pick some games of his and just keep posting the stats and tell a story of a game that he played, because there's a lot of information, way more than you can find on the like post game screen on AoE 4.
Sometimes the story and the information, they don't really match well together. Sometimes I wonder where the discrepancy is.
I mean, that's also, it's artistic liberty.
Artistic liberty.
No, I think there's just like a different understanding of what might be ideal gameplay there.
Yeah, I know that dude was really bummed when you couldn't get stone from the guild hall anymore, because I know that was the strategy. He was a French player who loved infinite stone and keep drops everywhere.
That's so toxic.
I'm so glad I never played against him.
Let's not mention that, because maybe we want Crackety at some point on this show, and if he's listening to this, he might not come anymore.
Wow.
We should get him on here. That's one thing I want to do better at. As far as we almost need to have like a State of the Union kind of like episode. Maybe that's what this will turn into. But like the podcast has done really well up to this point. It was a really good year for us last year. I thought we really kind of established ourselves. I definitely want to try and keep getting more guests on here. Maybe even fish some big name pros that you guys watch on stream and stuff like that. Besides me, Beale and Askallad and 10-4-Tim occasionally. Actually, 10-4-Tim's been
a superstar now.
He became a superstar. He's just like, well, it helps that he gets to stream like every single day for like hours. I'm really envious. He and I we keep joking that we envy each other's lives quite a bit. Because I'm the family guy.
It also helps that he's like a super charismatic, like nice dude who's really entertaining
he totally
to watch.
deserves it. He totally deserves it. Like but I'd be lying if I wasn't just a little bit envious of just how quick his channel's taken off. It's like, man, but I know he just streams more than I do. That's the trick. You got to really be on a lot. If you want to get big, you got to put yourself out there enough to do that. And he's doing it. He's doing a great job. His streams really are. If you guys haven't, quick shout out to 10-4-Tim. If you guys have not followed or checked out his channel, if you want to watch someone who just doesn't always win every single game, he's your guy. He won't win every single game. He'll do about 50-50 like anyone else. But he is like a people's champion, man. He is so fun to watch. And he plays a number of civs too.
Great entertainer. He's probably one of the most like actually entertaining dudes to watch. Yeah, just the amount of energy he brings to the games is fantastic.
I definitely try. I'm definitely like now trying to emulate his energy a bit more. It's so hard. I stream way too late at night to be like that peppy, for lack of a better word. But Tim brings it, man. He's so much fun to watch. Shout out to him. We're gonna have him back on here one of these days. We've had him on a couple times. We'll have to have him back one of these days. Stormgate beta tourney, is that coming up too, Askallad? I see that on your notes here.
Yeah, that's at the start of February. I was gonna do a bait post for Rising Empires on Reddit that I decided against, because I've got the feedback that it might not have been the nicest idea about how AoE4 is dying and EGC is leaving us, because they're running a Stormgate beta tournament, and there's quite a significant price skill.
Ooh, that would be probably one of the spiciest things we've seen yet if you did.
Oh my god! That would have gotten like 60% downvotes. I bet.
That's the try. I've done like one or two like bait posts in like the same spirit for the podcast, and one of them I think I was a little too heavy on, because it did get like 60%, like 30%, 40% downvoted, and I was like, oh dang, that did not go over nearly as well as I thought it would.
That'd also be a good way to guarantee that EGC never sends a raid to Rising Empires ever again.
Yeah, that as well. Like it would have been very funny, and I think people would have liked it eventually. But I don't think it would have like there would have been like some.
If there's anything I've learned, and this is not no offense to anyone listening to the podcast, you guys are great. But in general about people, so not you guys. We're talking like
life
people.
Lessons.
Yeah, life lessons. Listen, welcome to another episode of Life's Lessons with Socerton. Here we are. I'm explaining to you the fact that people don't read. Dude, people do not read anything. The reading comprehension across the board is trash. I don't understand it. You put up a sign in the hospital saying, hey, the office is this way. You're going to get people going, where's the office at? My job is graphic design and video. I literally have requests all day to make more signs. And I literally have to tell everyone, people do not read. And so with the troll posts, probably better not to overdo it because people aren't the brightest. It's true.
You'll still see people on the Rising Empires bait posts, like 1 or 2 every week.
Every time someone,
I wish it was 1 or 2. There's like 5.
There's a lot every time.
Depends on how silly or like just like what kind of rage bait is posted. But yeah.
That post where was making men-at-arms, feudal men-at-arms out to be the biggest problem since the Great Depression. Well, yeah. There was a lot of controversial debate at the bottom.
Oh gosh, I need to start sorting by controversial on those threads. It sounds like a great time. Oh man, yeah, probably better to keep it subtle on that one. So let's see. What do you guys think? So with the new patch coming out, hopefully soon, to at least make some balanced things. If we had to make a wish list of, let's say, like the top 5 things we want changed, fixed, etc. in the patch,
grabbing my wish list.
Yeah, grab the wish list. Let's make. I kind of want to do this little thought experiment. I think we already kind of know we're going to talk about probably Jushis. We're probably going to talk about JD. We're probably going to talk about Ayubids, and maybe some other things.
Wow.
What are our top? I mean, I'm just guessing here. Those are the things that probably people are most frothing at the mouth about. What exactly would we do? What if we were the devs? Let's say that Microsoft and Relic made the incredibly ill-advised choice to make us the deciders of what the actual changes would be. What would we do? Like number 1, what's the first thing we're changing?
We're nerfing Meditation Garden to the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fixing that. Because that is actually glitched.
Yeah, first of all, that's glitched.
We're fixing the bugs. I didn't mention that. I was just thinking that is implied in a patch.
I mean, it needs another nerf to it once the
it needs a nerf
glitch
post bugs. Yeah, so we're assuming, and oh man, if they don't fix that bug, there's going to be an uproar.
Do you want my mechanical nerf suggestion?
Yes, I do want some of those. So obviously we need to. I'm going to put in our outline too. Number 1, nerf the garden. And what do you think we should do for that? Like, how much does it need to be nerfed? What does it need? Does it need a rework? What would you do?
Diminishing returns. So at 70 res per minute, which I find is a good baseline because 75 on the Manta Quarry, you get 33% less resources for anything on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then at 100, you get 66% less, and then you're capped at 130. So it feels good to build the thing. It's very effective still. You can make it really good, but you can't get a 200 resource per minute meditation garden at 3 minutes.
I think I would sort of have the resources as flat amounts where if you build it around certain resources, like say you've got 100 resources per minute, that's the pool. And then based on what you build it around, that's how it's divided. So if you touch every single resource, you get the 25 or something per minute. And I'm just using 100. I'm throwing that out there as...
Yeah, it's probably a bit high, but probably 25 or 30 or something like that. Yeah.
Well, no. 100 in total.
Oh, total. Yeah,
and then basically what's in its radius, if you pull wood into the radius and there's only wood near the meditation garden,
it's just the percentages of how much you get.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So you're saying flat rate if it fits, it ships. I like it.
Flat rate, and then you can decide which certain resources you want based on where you put it down.
Okay.
So if you want a certain thing where you want the gold and wood, or if you're thinking about 2 TC really quick, so
wood
you
and
want
stone, if you
wood
can
and
get
stone. Yeah.
And before anyone cries foul, let me remind you guys, that would still make it a better landmark than the Manta Quarry.
Although,
fortunately, that is true.
100. Going to go back to it. Not saying 100, just using that as for the sake of argument. But if it does touch stone, then half. Then you have of
half
what?
That of stone. So okay, kind of like what.
So if it was Yeah, around every resource would be 25, 25, 25, and then 12.5 for stone.
Okay. Stone is a really powerful resource. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But my question is, do you guys think
stone
that'd be
generation
enough?
is rough.
Would that be enough to nerf Zushi?
No. Want to go down my list?
Yeah. Let's hear your list. What do you got? What else?
Song Dynasty is currently 40%. We are going to tone that down to 20 or 25. I'm not quite sure. And we are not going to have it affect towers anymore.
It affects towers?
It affects towers. Your towers cost 60 wood.
You're kidding me, dude. So you're telling me Zushi could also tower rush if they wanted to right now?
They can easily tower rush in Song Dynasty, but they can also just easily put down like 5 outposts around their resources, no problem.
Mm-hmm. The more I learn about Zushis, the more I realize that it really, I hate when people say, oh, such and such is OP. I think that gets overused a bit much. But genuinely, Zushi's legacy is overpowered. Like, honest to goodness.
It's just a little overtuned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's putting it nicely.
Also, they get access to like one of the best feudal age units, maybe the best as well.
Yeah, the Zuganu are, and now people have said they want to nerf Zuganus. I actually would not nerf the Zoogs themselves.
I wouldn't either.
Because China would have to bear the brunt of that nerf as well. And China is in a rough, I mean, I don't have much love. I don't have a lot of love lost for China. They're in a rough spot.
Above average.
They are above average, but they're in a pretty rough spot because who's going to pick them over China, over Zushi?
I mean, nobody's going to pick anything over Zushi right now because Zushi is the best civ in the game and there's no argument about it. I don't think that is the argument you want to make.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know if I would nerf the Zushi because I think that would be a pretty big nerf to China, which, frankly, I don't think needs any huge nerfs. I mean, I don't like China as a civ as it is, but I don't look at them and say they're overpowered. But if you nerf the Zoogs for one, you have to do it for the other. I guess or you have to change the unit fundamentally then at that point and have them be different units. They'd be diverging at that point.
So I'm not sure that's gonna. So Song Dynasty is a real problem. The Meditation Garden is obviously a little too good. Those are like the two main factors of Zushi, I feel like. But the other thing is they could also not build a Meditation Garden and still start Zoog rushing you at 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how do you affect that? I feel like you need, if you go for the Yang Yang Tower, it should have like a production time. Like the units basically pop out instantly.
Yeah. It's
so
like
if
it's
you
like
have
the
like
Gamba
a regular production speed, that would be fine.
Yeah, because it's like right now it's like the Gamba Wing, except for you know what you're getting right off the bat. You get to pick what you want and just pay 150 wood, and there you go, free unit and production building. And the tempo that gives you is insane.
Yeah, you supervise the wood, you actually get 20% more wood. You pay 150 wood for that production building, you get 120 resource horsemen. I mean, nobody's getting the horsemen, but that would be the biggest resource.
Gosh. I mean, why when you can do Zoogs though? It's like why not? Why would you do that when you can get Zoogs?
I mean, you can horseman rush. That's pretty effective. Like drop down 5 stables. Didn't cost you all that much. You were supervising the wood anyway.
That's a pretty food heavy comp. So if you just pop your meditation gardens on like a deer berry group or something like that.
But that's the thing. You didn't pay any food.
You didn't pay anything for the food for the first one. So you're getting a huge increase of value. Yeah. Holy cow. Dude, Zushi is so good, man. Oh my goodness.
I'm kind of out of the meta for Zushi right now, but supposedly if you drop that second age landmark, I'm not going to try to pronounce it right now. Drop the 5 stables, got the horsemen out. You're saving on food. You can go somewhat fast castle with 5 horsemen on the map. Then you have the production buildings to build lancers. Like start spamming them when you hit castle. Have people been? Is that a viable thing?
Hey, the zoo. Why would you go Zoog rush? People have been just Zoog rushing and then or eco booming and getting up to castle.
The reason
like
why that's not super good. Sorry, I'm talking over you. That's such a bad habit. I'm doing that in casting. That's horrible. Like I don't know how people can stand that.
I do it all the time too, so you're fine. You're amongst like company. Unfortunately, I do that way too much. Go ahead.
Okay, the reason why I don't want to do that is if you make feudal horsemen, they're going to make spears, and then why would you go knights?
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas Zoogs have no counter in feudal age. They just don't. Longbows technically.
There's Jaff throwers. They're okay. Longbows are better than Jaffs against them, actually.
But for the majority, I'm saying like there's no like it's maybe some civs. I don't really count like having I have this one specific civ that happens to be able to counter this. That's not a counter to me, right? Like they have no true feudal counter. You have to get up to age 3, and you have to spam out either a ton of men-at-arms or just men-at-arms and mangoes. That is like the only pathway to stop that. Because the horsemen just don't do it. You can't get a
dodge the mango shot. They just kill the mango in one volley.
That's the problem. So men-at-arms really is the way to go. But you have to get a huge mass of them to withstand the fighting. It's insane.
Hear me out on some Zhug discussions here. Potential balance. What if first shot, even if it already not the first shot doing more damage, but if the second and third shot get negated by armor, then it doesn't do the 1 chip damage.
So you mean they actually go down to 0?
Right, and they don't do any damage. They don't do the base 1. They just do nothing. And that prevents even Mash Zhugs from dealing with rams, which is wild if you have enough on the field, just from all those 1 damage plinks going off. The first shot will always
completely trash against armor.
That's the kind of trickle down nerf that would have huge implications.
Yeah, I don't know, because it is.
Because you're taking the one thing that makes them overpowered and then just making it completely completely awful. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but that would make any kind of armored unit would just roll through. No one would. I mean, Zushi wouldn't have any other choice but to go with those. But that would be that's a big boy nerf right there. I'd like to see it, frankly, just because I'm so sick of Zushis. But I hate the one thing I don't ever want to do when I want something nerfed. Is I don't want something to be completely unviable. I don't want it to be.
What if it was a Castle Age tech that you could research to have those second and third shots regain that 1 point of damage? So feudal.
I like that.
If
that's
the first
a big rework, but I like it. I
always
like that.
Does 1. Then the repeating shots, if they get blocked by the armor, they do 0 instead of 1. But on unarmored units, they still rip right through. And then in Castle Age, there's a tech at the archery range that allows Zhugnus to.
But you gotta pay 250 gold to get it, or something like that, or something kind of.
Yeah, it's something that maybe not super expensive, but something that takes time and.
Yeah, I can see that. That's quite a rework. That's quite the rework.
Ideas going through my brain.
Make it a blacksmith tech, or maybe just a tech in the. No, I'd make it a blacksmith tech. Yeah. Okay, that would be interesting. I'd love to see how that would pan out. That'd be really cool. Okay, so I've got our number 1 here of our list of 5 I want to try and get. We're nerf the gardens, diminishing returns, or do a flat rate. Number 2, we're saying, what was our other nerf? I mean, we were talking about Zushi just needs a nerf or something.
Song Dynasty.
Song Dynasty. Yeah, Song Dynasty needs to be lowered.
And no towers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and no towers. No on the towers. Yeah, and we think 25. I think they would fine after that. I think they'd do 25% instead of 20. Although I think 20 would feel a lot better for everyone against it. But I think they'd probably, because right now it's what, 40?
It's 40.
It's insane.
It's pretty bonkers.
Absolutely insane that they just get that. Yeah, at least I think 25 sounds like a fair nerf to that. But I wouldn't mind 20, frankly, because it's already just super crazy. All right, number 3. So we have 2. The first thing we're doing is we're nerfing 2 different things on Zushis. Number 3, if we had to have 5 things, what's our number 3 going to be? I'm looking, I start now, if we did those 2 things, I think Zushi, I'd let that play out and see how that feels. I start looking towards Joan of Arc, and I think personally we implement Beale's idea of a bounty for the opponent. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm not with it for number 3 though.
Yeah, you think 4 or 5?
Number 3 should be the advancement wing.
Advancement wing. Yeah. Let me. Well, would you guys just nerf it? Okay, here's my thing. I'm gonna pair number 3 with you have to give a Ubit something else then though, because they don't really have anything else going. That's the problem with the Ubits. They are very one-dimensional, frankly, which is ironic because they've got 8 options to pick from, but they're massively one-dimensional. You'd have to give them something else. And how much would we nerf it by anyways? Because advancement wing does need a nerf. But if you do it too much, I don't. Here's my thing. I don't want to nerf something to the point where it's no longer a viable option. That doesn't give them any kind of advantage because they rely heavily on tempo. I don't disagree that it's a bit much, even if it was like just something that cost them an extra 30 seconds. So I don't know, because I don't how much is a discount is it anyways? I know it's like 600 food and like 450 gold or something. I know it's like 850 food and like 450 gold. I think. I guess
is it also 40?
That sounds like about 40%. I think is what that is. So we think we lower that to like what, like 30%, 25% again?
So my idea here is leave the resources alone, but make it a tactical decision to click up. Like completely negate the time aspect of the wing. So if I arrive at your base and you just clicked up, then I can kill you before you actually get that Gulam out. Because you're going to take 2 minutes to age up instead of 1 minute.
So you think it needs to take longer to you think it needs to increase the time then that it takes to age up?
Yeah, I think just make it the baseline time. Like, don't have it affect the time at all. The advancement wing is only resources. That is my idea to that. I'm not sure if that's the correct one.
I'm going to sound really silly, but is it? I didn't realize it had a faster age up as well. It's not the base time.
Oh yeah, it has a significantly faster.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
Oh, that seems like an easy.
Catholic Culture Wing is 1 minute and 12 seconds versus 2 minutes for all the other age ups.
Oh, well, yeah. If you just took that out, then it'd be. That would slow it down.
Doing fast castle because it costs less time to gather the resources to go up as well. So it's bonus on bonus. So get rid of one of those bonuses.
No extra
then
time.
I can still not stop your castle age, but I can at least deny you the resources once you're there because you are stuck in feudal age for the next 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, see, now I wouldn't mind that because I know a lot of people go for the 3 villagers. I have never been a big fan of that. I almost always go Desert Raider just to have some kind of military presence on the field for my feudal age up. So I feel like that actually would make that more viable because I know a lot of people would use the 3 villas. And I guess I have always wondered how people get up to age super fast. I'm not as fast in my Ayubid's fast castle as others have been. I know some people have been getting up at like 720 minutes or something like that or faster. And it's because they're going for the 3 villas off the bat in feudal age and just getting that massive eco spike. I've not been doing that. I realized I'm going for Desert Raiders to try and poke and prod my opponent a little bit and then try to age up. And I'm usually popping up at like 9 minutes. And then 10, 11 minutes, I've got Gulams in their base, which that's not unreasonable at all. I mean, it's difficult because I've been prodding them with the Desert Raiders. But yeah, I think that pushing the time out for that, then it's still like, then you're aging up at like 10 minutes, got Gulams in like 11. And
if you want to give Ayubid something, just
they need something else.
Master Smiths not require a blacksmith.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool because the tooltip already says so.
Oh, it already says that, but it's not true. Dang.
Yeah, I've been casting a game of SAS before. He should know that because he's in the top 50, but he used to be in the top 50 at that time. But also the tooltip, I actually looked it up. The tooltip says upon aging up, you get immediately the blacksmith tax, and it's just not a thing.
You got to build a blacksmith and then get all the ones before it first to get the current levels for free. Yeah,
it's won a game without blacksmith tax.
I think we ran into a similar issue with tooltips yesterday, Socerton, when we were casting with a YAM network, and you're like, "Well, the tooltip says it's just traders and cavalry units,"
and
it's like, no, it's all units.
Yeah, they need to go through and clean up some of that stuff. Okay, here's my one thing with it. I think that the one that should be just fixed. I think for Ayubids, that just needs to be fixed to what it actually says. That to me is more of a bug fix at that point. It just should just do it. I think they need some kind of eco bonus, some kind of or some kind of better ability to get into a timely second TC. Because I feel like
they can easily get a second TC.
They say that, but no one does it. It doesn't.
You can go feudal advancement wing. I mean, it's not the optimal way to play because fast castle is better than anything else you can do.
My worry is even if it was like on, I don't know that it would be better than doing. I feel like there'd be a bunch of other civs that would just do that better, and I feel like it'd be not as good. I just don't feel like it would be worth the effort ever. Even with these changes, I don't know that it would be better. I feel like they need some kind of other, and I'm not talking something huge, right? I'm saying they just need a slight buff to something else to make it a more enticing option. I don't know if they just need like just a little more.
I see where you're coming from, because some of the wings, they just feel weird, right?
Yeah.
The industry wing, that would be one of the like obvious choices here for the 300 extra wood, but like that feels like such a weird choice to pick. And if you go later, like nobody's gonna pick that wing if you go to Castle or Imperial Age. Like, what's the point?
The 2,500 into Imp is just like, what?
Yeah, okay. I just aged up after completely cutting all trees on the map down, apparently, and now I need that wood. But what?
Yeah, I guess a game that went, it's already an hour long. Somehow nobody was able to age 4 yet, and you're playing on Prairie. So maybe that might help.
It's a very weird wing. I can see there's a tactical choice in Feudal Age, and then it's still worse than the Advancement wing, though you kind of want to leave the Advancement wing for Castle because, Fast Castle is pretty insane. But yeah, like the Advancement wing is actually the fastest second town center in the game currently, I believe. Unless you're like HRE and you get a Aachen Chapel on stone and wood, like without the mining and wood and lumber camp.
Is it? I have to play around with it because if it is the fastest, you'd think you'd see it more often, right? But I really haven't seen anyone do that like ever.
It's super fast. I think Demu started building his second town center at like 4 minutes, 5 seconds. 4 minutes 10.
Is it just a matter of then that people don't do it because there's no way to defend it then, and you're just kind of like stuck doing that and nothing else? Because I know, looking at like Roos, for instance, they can do that, but they're also super defended. I'm just wondering, like, why? Because like French can go 2 town centers because they've got the knights to protect them. Is there like why is it not super effective then? Because there's something that's not clicking, right? Because to me, it's like there's
because Fast Castle is better.
Is that really it? Is it really just like everyone's sleeping on that?
That's it. Fast Castle is better. Why would you go to TC when your civ is all about timing and just snatching the relics and killing your opponent? But my question is then, like, if it is also another strat that is equally as good. It's not equally as good. That's the problem.
Like, is it just not? Because I'm just really, maybe is it just because the overarching meta is like the 1TC like feudal aggression? Is that just why?
Okay, go on a little adventure here with me. You're the Iobits. You just went to TC. Your TC is standing at around the 5-minute mark. Let's just say that.
That sounds awesome.
Your opponent is starting to Zook rush you. What do you do?
Well, if it's a Zuganu, you're just going to lose. I mean, that doesn't matter what civ. You're just losing.
Well, you're just going to die.
Yeah. Well,
that's what you're going to do.
If I go Fast Castle, I'm just going to die. I mean, even with the Advancement wing, I have had some like sweaty games.
You can at least get some Lancers out. You can get some Gulams. You have options.
It's a coin flip. It's a coin flip. I'll be honest.
It is a coin flip, but it is your best coin flip.
Yes.
I described the worst case scenario. But
here's my question. Against other civs, if it really is like 5 minutes and you've got a town center, that's such a huge eco like tempo boost. People who like eco games, why aren't they playing that with the Ubits then?
Because you go Fast Castle and you just spam Gulam and like that.
But and then you win. Equally, this to me just seems like if you really, really like Fast Castle, because people play, I don't know, like why would other 2TC, because if this is also really good, why do other people who really like, let's say I don't like Fast Castling, I am a 2TC guy, why do people who play 2TC not play the civ for that then, if it's also better than like any other civs 2TC?
You're playing Roots.
That's fair. A very good point, but also at the start of the season, like before, like the TC nerfs were really discovered, explored, or whatever, when everyone was still stuck in I'm playing a Abbasid variant, and I'm just gonna go 2TC because that is what I always do. I was playing against Tim. To be fair, he was playing Byzantines, but like I went the 2TC routes multiple times, and like I was just getting my face shoved in. That's also because Tim is probably a better player, or was a better player at that point anyway. And
but that doesn't add up to me then, though, right? Because that's you're saying it's got the best.
I went castle
game
behind it and killed him. Like I could not beat him in Feudal Age. I could not fight him in Feudal Age. But when I went castle, I just beat him.
So then, does that mean that? Because I feel like I'm trying to get to like the root of the problem, right? Because the Fast Castle to me is the problem, but it's going to get nerfed. But I don't feel like the civ's going to get just dropped in the mud, because if they really do have the best town center timing of any civ, people who played that strat would be playing the civ for that and just ignoring the Fast Castle, right? But we're not seeing that though. So that
I feel like your feudal age has.
Is it the feudal age military? Is it the feudal military that has a problem? Is it that their feudal military is too weak to fight? Is that to me?
So
what I'm starting to wonder.
Are so good that why stick around in feudal when you can have an insane power spike with your getting Ghulams into your opponent's base? And those
it's
really
just better.
I mean, I'm not denying that. I just feel like if it's also got the best,
the problem here.
I think it is. I think that's what I'm saying.
Cavalry.
I think that's the thing. They need to have some kind of buff to their feudal. Then is what I'm saying as far as military goes, because if their castle is imminently going to get nerfed here in a second, and we all know it's going to happen, it's bound to happen. If that 2TC is as good as I've been told, people always are like, well, Socerton, they can 2TC with the free wood. It's super easy. I just sit there and go, okay, well then if anyone like really loves the 2TC play, why aren't they doing it? And you can't just say, oh, because castle's always better. Because if someone really hates going castle age, like, and if it's going to get nerfed, like, I feel like that. I think the root of it then has to be that their feudal military is not good enough. There's something lacking. They just don't have the ability to play feudal military then, or they if they do, it's like a crappy 1TC feudal military, and they don't get that advantage on going to town centers. Maybe it's the problem with the advanced wings in general is that you're picking one thing, because most civs, right? Most civs kind of you don't just pick all in on one, right? Unless you're going like all in 1TC. Most civs, they're going 2TC. They're not doing it naked. They're gonna have a couple units, right? It's like you're 80% 2TC, 20% feudal aggression, right?
Are you playing Roost now?
I guess.
He's playing Roost now.
I'm saying like most civs, that are doing that are going to consider some kind of like, they're not just all 100% on one strat, right? If I'm fast castling as HRE, I might have to make like a couple of spears defensive off or build a tower and turtle. There's things I'll have to do, but besides just naked, whatever my strategy is, right? But with a Ubids though, you're kind of shoehorned into, I picked this, therefore going anything else is an awful choice because I only get the bonuses for this one particular thing. Whereas other civs kind of have passive bonuses for different things, right? Like French gets faster villagers regardless of what they do. So they can all in military, but they still have that 10% that's better eco, even on 1TC.
Think in terms of Askallad here. Like, how do you feel about Askallad with 1TC?
It depends. It genuinely depends.
Okay. I feel like it's absolutely trash.
I would raise you again. You're going to hate this, but their preservation of knowledge, they're being able to go into Ghulams with fast castle is viable against certain civs.
Wait, so we're back to fast castle now.
We are.
Okay.
Yes,
I was
yes.
going to expand that on the feudal fights.
But on the feudal fights, no. 1TC feudal fights, if you go military wing, it just doesn't feel good. The boot camp is not enough, and it's because their eco lags behind it. Yeah.
And here's the thing. So Askallad has a better economy than Iubids. Like in the late game, obviously, but their golden age is just 5% better. Like just flat out. Mm-hmm. They get 5% more resources.
Maybe that's what needs to be adjusted then.
Like, I don't think you want to buff Golden Age because that's what's going to make Iubids into a massive powerhouse.
No. But maybe just instead of having like the same but a little bit worse, why not just change it to give them like a slight edge in military instead? Because a fast castle because hear me out. A fast castle is not going to benefit. If you had instead of a bonus to your Golden Age gave you a bonus to your military power instead of your villager gather rate, that would, if you're not going to build as many houses going for a fast castle build, so you're not going to get that buff, but you get the timing. But if you go for a 2TC play or a feudal game and you're building out your feudal stuff and you get that age up bonus or you get the Golden Age bonus and it's like plus like 15% to your attack speed or something, then you have that could really be a good way to set apart a Ubids from Askallad better.
Yeah, there's only one problem with that. I like where you're going with it. I think there is the issue with the balancing because you are, as Iubids, you are very good against cavalry civs. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I'll count Rus among that, even though against Rus you kind of still play fast castle. But yeah, the camels just give you a good advantage. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is you need to consider water maps because Iubids, while they don't have the massive economy and all, but they do have that advancement wing that gives them like the super fast warship edge. So they're pretty good on water as well. And
I wasn't thinking about water at all.
It gives you cheaper emplacements is also a little weird, but also strong.
I didn't think about water. I don't have a lot of water experience with the Ubids, so I didn't think of that. But I guess to end on this note, I definitely feel like Abbassid or Ubids rather needs some kind of tweaking. Like if they just nerf, and they would need to, but if they just nerf the advancement wing and the fast castle and don't do anything else to help their eco out at all, or do something else to give them the edge for feudal, the civ's just going to get dropped like in the trash can. Just no one's going to play it. It's going to be just completely awful.
Kind of like Abbassid has been kind of dropped after the second town center nerf. I mean, it's good on some maps. It's still a very good civ, and it has 4 viable wings, which is amazing, by the way. Great stuff on the balance there. I really like that. But if you're not gonna go trade wing, or if you can't TC boom safely somehow, then you kind of
it's definitely a conundrum, huh? And it's like I feel like it's also. It kind of runs into the thing where some people don't like that certain civs have certain power spikes in certain matchups. Like it's one of those things. Like, should every matchup be even? Like that's a big. It can't be, for one, right? It can't be. But then people kind of gripe and complain about certain matchups in particular. I think it's a problem when like a civ like Zushi is just good against everybody and everyone except for like maybe one civ, and even then it's like a coin flip. That's a problem. But I definitely think Ubids would be just not good. And everyone says, oh, but the town center. And I'm like, I don't think I'd rather just play Abbassid then. Like there's no incentive to play. Like the problem is right now there's no incentive to play Abbassid over a Ubids because of the fast castle. But if you get rid of that for a Ubids, there's no incentive to play like either of them. I don't know. I just think they just need to rethink of kind of what they want the strengths of each civ to be. And it's kind of hard sometimes to tell because maybe there's strats we don't know about that could be viable. I don't know.
Please don't make it Warrior Scouts.
Oh, yeah, please no. Please no.
Should we go down our list? We covered the advancement wing now.
We've got the bounty for the opponent. We've already talked. We've kicked that horse into the ground, haven't we? Number 4 then we have is fixing Joan of Arc. Honestly, I don't feel like I feel like if you just fixed the bounty for her, I think the civ's fine. I've played against it a couple more times. It doesn't seem as bad as I used to think. I've noticed that their eco really does lag. And I like that play. I like that payoff. I think they need to adjust it just a little bit. And I kind of wish there was just a little bit more for French now. Kind of make it worth picking that over Joan of Arc. Because, I mean, it's like, why would you ever pick French when you can pick the funner French?
It's an unfortunate truth. I feel like maybe you could shift a little bit power away from Jenny herself. Like make the cleave maybe just a little bit less effective against the direct counters.
Or just
the knights.
Give Anne any incentive to actually fight her.
Yeah.
And that's like, that's the fun incentive, and then there's the balance incentive.
Yeah, I agree with both.
I have one more. Like, make her, if you rebuy her, make her not respawn with full health, please.
Oh, that's a good.
You just spend 20 seconds focusing her down. She's dead. Great. Hey, she's back with full life. Good luck.
Yeah. Or at least, I hate that. There's no incentive, and you're just feeding the beast. I think the fun factor is my biggest thing. Because I've realized now more and more, like there are a couple things. I think she's a little overtuned still, and so we would like just a small little nerf, just a little teeny one, just to kind of bring that back down to earth. But really, it's the fun factor. It's the fact that there's no incentive to. I want to be incentivized to play. No one likes. I mean, some people do, but most people don't like when their opponent just sits back and does nothing and still has like a really good reason to win, right? I don't want to be incentivized to sit back and do nothing. I want to be incentivized. And I think a lot of the devs have kind of leaned into this. The feudal aggression is kind of the meta right now. Like it's a meta to play the game. Like they want you to get over map control. They want you to try and mash your armies into each other and do some raids. That's kind of where the meta's at. That's kind of what we're encouraged to do. So it does feel strange to be disincentivized to take a fight at all. Cool. Well, we've talked about that one a ton too. So I think you guys' solutions for that are brilliant. That leaves number 5 on my slot here. What else?
Nerf.
What was that?
Kremlin nerf.
Yeah, it still needs a little bit. Maybe make the range a little bit shorter, or make tone the damage down of the actual landmark, just so Rus is raidable in feudal age. Like, yeah, the gremlins are still an issue, but like, if you're gonna leave the gremlin mechanic in there, like you can't really make them completely crap.
Right. Well, yeah. I'm wondering, what if you locked gremlins to castle? Would that be too big of a nerf?
I think that would be.
You still have the good defense in feudal.
I mean, you still have a massive tower with all the upgrades. Like the Kremlin does a ton of damage if you garrison it.
I was watching.
Yeah, it does.
In Well the other day, there was.
Oh, how many knights fell to that? Oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about.
On what is it? The water drake. Yeah. Someone had built a Kremlin on one of the middle islands against French, and because it was Lels, the French player was rallying knights into the Rus base.
Oh, so big.
And there were 2 knights that had passed by the Kremlin and just got chunked down to half health on their way past. And I know that's, you'd be aware of that after the first night. You got pinged by that and you changed the rally point, but it does a lot of damage.
Yeah, it really does.
It's a good landmark.
It's a crazy good landmark. No, that gremlin change. Changing the gremlins to be locked in Castle Age would be a massive nerf, actually. Because so often in feudal with the TC and you're getting all in, you use that as like a desperation, like I've got to save this. It's all or nothing. The gremlins must save me. And they either do or they don't. That would have massive implications. And part of me is kind of like, this is going to kill me because I just learned how to play Rus, and it is a fun civ. I get why everyone's been playing it, but it's been so good for so long. I get it. I get why. But man, it's been like a year that Rus has been the top dog, like top S or A civ for ever since this change was implemented. Maybe it is something to go down.
To incentivize. Maybe building some units to defend your second town center rather than hit a button, get them for free.
Yeah. Well, it definitely would slow down the game a little bit. I think the tricky thing is tempo is so important in this game. And it's really hard, I think, to balance tempo because if you go against a civ that has better tempo, that just puts you at such a disadvantage despite whatever your skill is. Like you're going to be limited by what your civ can do. And I don't think the devs really want you to be limited by your civ, right? Like, that's the problem with some of these changes and why people are so upset about it is that the civ is making players stronger or weaker, which kind of just sucks, but it makes sense too. But it'd be nice if it's hard to balance. How do you balance like totally different mechanics, right?
Yeah, I think the problem just comes down to it's very easy for Rus to go second TC with all the defensive bonuses. And just go naked 2 TC. Really hard to get any sort of counterplay in from if you're playing against Rus there. Because
it'll still be easy though, but now you need to build your town center in Kremlin range.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you can't just rely on these free units to defend.
Which honestly, that's not asking a lot either, if you think about it. Like most my town centers when I play Rus usually are in Kremlin range, or at least close-ish to it.
It's a good habit to get into.
I'm thinking about that. Yeah, I definitely think
don't watch 10 for Tim for that one.
Yeah, dude's a great. Nothing on Tim. If you're listening, I'm just gonna bash on you just a little bit, just out of love. I love when Tim puts his Kremlin somewhere, and then he's got like his TC out in Narnia, to use his words, and he's on the board, and then he gets it torched down. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, chat! They're torching down my TC. Why would they do that?" And it's like, "Well, Tim, you put it like in Narnia. Like, what do you expect?"
The Timlins are amazing.
I love it. So good. All right. Well, those are our 5 nerfs. Would that be it? What other things? I mean, now we've got like our list of top 5 of what we would change. Any other like spitballing things you guys would like to see? I mean, I think Rus, or not Rus, HRE is definitely in need of some love now.
Change the Merc House so you can get like smaller stacks of units.
Oh,
just
yeah,
let me make single units for oil, please, instead of just a stack.
Oh, was it Tim who said this? I think that, or maybe it was Askallad on a stream. I forget who said it. It was. I think they were saying like the difference between having 0 and 400 olive oil is massive. Like you have 60, or if you have like 300 or 0, doesn't matter. You need to have like above that. Like it's the same having 300.
If you have 399, you have 0 units on the field. If you have 400, you have a pair of Kashik.
Yeah, and so like having 350 is the same as having 0 essentially. And if you get denied right by that, so it's just like that window to have it denied is huge. There's no stopping. Whereas I like your idea. Make it single. That way you can get like 1 or 2 out. There's at least some kind of benefit there. Maybe you don't have that full mass because it got denied eventually, and you didn't get the oil you needed, but at least you got a couple out of it. You get some return because not being able to spend your resources.
And in exchange for this massive buff to Byzantines, maybe make the shield wall of the Limitani 40 instead of 50%.
Yeah, or even 35.
Like it will still be insane.
Mm-hmm. I also think, you could have the Merc House and you could have the prices for like the groups as normal, but that would be like a bulk discount. And then you could have singleton units for like, is it 4 jav throwers?
So they're like a little pricier, just a little bit pricier for the individuals.
They're more expensive individually, but if you're able to save up that batch, then you get a little discount.
Then at least I can say I died to my own greed instead of I died to belts.
Right.
I like that. No, that's a great idea, Beale. Like keep the prices the same, but then if they want the individual units, just have it like, okay, you want your individual packaged ice creams? Here you go, the extra 40 cents for the plastic tax or whatever you want to call it. Like I like that. I like that a lot. That's
like a single jab thrower would cost more than a quarter of whatever.
Yeah. If I'm going to buy just a bottle of Coke from the vending machine, it's going to cost me a lot more than if I go to the store or supermarket and buy a pack of 12. Like, that's a great idea. I love that comment.
Like, interesting strategic decisions of like, can you hold out to get the last 30 olive oil you need, or do you just like, okay, I just need 2 jab throwers right this instant, or I'm going to die.
Beale, that is such a great idea. I'm mad I didn't think of that myself. That's actually a really elegant solution for that. That'd be nice. Putting that as number 6. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah, when I hear changes like that suggested, and if they would actually do that, I would feel bad for stuff like Farimba, for instance, where anything where you basically have this bulk mechanic, where I think to myself, that would be amazing if this had also this specific mechanic, but like only the new stuff gets it, the old ones just get left in the dust.
Farimba's a different beast.
Farimba's a very different beast because all the passive gold they're getting.
It's a separate resource that you can't use for anything else. You can use gold for other things.
You can sell it for something, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I've been doing that.
I think that's slept on a little bit. Like if you can't use it, you might as well sell it and you just got to spend the res somehow. It doesn't feel good, but any other
I feel like
changes?
Byzantines is very dependent on their mercs. That is the issue. I feel like Byzantines without mercs is just really bad.
No, I agree. But the winery just feels bad against civs that have tempo.
So who was that? I think it was Crackety who made the math on that on the stream. Like instead of, if you deny berries to a Byzantine when they have the winery on it, like instead of denying like 1,300 food or something, you're denying them like 3,000 resources because they doubled it on the oil.
Yeah, no, that's true. I never thought of that. That's going to affect my play against Byzantines actually. Like focusing on because I never thought about that. I've never thought about I should deny the oil specifically, especially when that winery's out. I've always just played normal, just playing to crush them as I do normally. But that's
in the Watchies Club in those games yesterday. I think in every single matchup where Byzantines was played, I think their early winery berries got just rushed, tower rushed or feudal hard rushed. Yeah, we had a Jenny tower rush on the winery. That was fun.
Oh boy,
that sounds.
Jenny built a barracks and then built a tower.
Actually, I really enjoy getting cistern rushed. I thought that was funny. I was playing as a Ubids and got like a month ago and got cistern rushed, but then he didn't. I went a Desert Raiders and he went for he kept making horsemen and I was like, okay, I'll take this fight all day. And I actually ended up winning because of that. I castled up eventually, slowed me down a bit, but was able to get around and crushed him. That was a fun game. It was the second time he did it. The first time he managed it, actually I played the same guy twice in a row. This keeps happening to me, guys. I played the same guy 2 times in a row. The first time he just sent some villagers trying to vill rush me with his Byzantines. I swept him away. It was a joke. I was like, okay, really? Like my Desert Raider just killed his vills. It was like 1 vill, didn't do it. The second game was on Cliffside, and then he actually sent a group and actually towered and actually did the cistern rush. So he had the little spears he could pull out and stab my guy. And I actually tagged in the chat like, "Ooh, you learned. That's so much smarter. Like, way to go." And I still ended up beating him because he went horseman after that. And I was like, dude, like, I've got camels, my man.
I feel like if you type that, you deserve to lose.
I kind of did. Well, I was like genuinely like, oh, hey, you learned to bring the cistern. That's like actually really, I was being genuine. Like, that's actually a really smart, like good job. Like, I was smart. And I guess maybe I came across as really sarcastic because I ended up beating him. But I was like, oh, hey, that's really smart. Because the first game I was like, where's the cistern? Isn't he going to actually do it right? Like, if you're going to Vil rush me, at least do it right. Like, come on, make it worth my time.
You got it. So Cistern Rush, they drop a cistern in your base and they do the tech that the Architwad or whatever.
They pull out the stabby stabs, the civil defense force comes out. Okay. Yeah. So you can't just
because I was looking at in my brain, it was like, what effect on the cistern would have
the Akritoid
research rate? What is
they drop that tower and then they take the resource and get the bonus for it. It's actually kind of elegant. I kind of do like it. It's just it didn't work in that instance. But it was the second time
better than Spears. Then it's great.
Yeah, it was really fun. But it was his second time rushing. The first time he didn't bring a cistern, it was only one Vil. The second time he was a lot more committed to it. It still didn't work because I had a backup gold, but it could have worked a lot better. I was actually impressed by it. All right. Well, unless anyone has any last second things they really want to see, I think we'll take just a quick break and then get on to our Reddit post. Do a little bit of a shorter episode today.
Sounds good to me.
Sortable friends list, please.
Yes.
Sortable friends. Yes. UI fixes across the board, please. All right. Back in just a minute.
Have you ever seen a knight in need, all alone on the battlefield with no one to call a friend? Well, moreknights.com is here to help. We're not asking for your money, we're asking for your heart. Adopt a knight today and give them the home they deserve. These knights are warriors, they're brave, they're strong, and they need you. By adopting a knight from moreknights.com, you'll be giving them a new lease on life. You'll be their companion, their confidant, and their battle buddy. So come on, give a knight a chance. Visit moreknights.com and start the adoption process. Who knows, you might just find your new best friend.
Adoptive parents of knights should keep their knights safe from harm, from harmful things such as town center fire, cannon emplacements, spears, and archer pilings. All adoptions are final. Please handle your knights with care. Visit www.moreknights.com for details.
Moreknights.com, where knights become family.
All right, we're back. We're gonna get through this second half fairly quick. We've got lives to still live, but we are getting this episode out. So for all you listeners, we're getting it. We heard the chatter. People were getting nervous that we might have just fallen off the face of the earth, but no, we're here. So let's dive into some Reddit posts. Actually, there was a lot. I was surprised going through this morning looking for posts. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. So hopefully we don't chew the fat too long. The first one, I actually like this a lot. This question posted by Ben Bamboo a day ago from the time of recording. And he says, what do you forget exists? There are so many features into the game that sometimes I completely forgot something exists and then get to the end of the game and kick myself that I didn't utilize it. Trade, he gets so busy mining and working the mines around the map, he forgets that trade is starting trade is an option. And he says that building a university, he gets to Imperial, and this one hurts, gets to Imperial upgrade to existing tech, and he often forgets about the university upgrades and options that are available there. So what are some things we forget to do or mechanics of the game that we just forget exists?
Naval arrow slits.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I forget a lot of the times, especially on maps where there's going to be fights near your dock. I forget that naval arrow slits exist quite a bit. And I always, as soon as it usually takes my opponent researching them for their docks, that I realize like, oh yeah, I could have had this like 2 minutes ago. I could have more decisively won a naval battle had that researched.
That's a good answer.
Playing against Shinobi on a water map where I just thought, well, yeah, my fuel timing is good. Look, I'm up right at his. My warship is going to come out right at this correct second. I'm going to be perfectly in sync with, hey, there's a disable on my dock. Yeah. Well, rip, I guess I'm dead.
Dock's on fire.
I kind of forgot that existed.
Well, the arrow slits don't shoot anything that's land. They only shoot naval targets, right?
Yes. That is correct.
Yeah.
And also, if you disable it, you can't finish the arrow slits. It's like just another production thing.
That's rough. Japanese on water is scary. Those Shinobi.
The Water Drake games were amazing. Like, Japanese just feels a little OP on that map.
Yeah, Japanese is but it's kind of fun that like they're because the trade-off is that like if you can figure a way around that, their eco is stunted for it, you know, because they don't have the free farms. So I do kind of like the trade-off because that Kura storehouse, the storehouse warehouse, definitely feels a lot worse. Feels like you miss that when you don't have it. But the Shinobi are just so much fun. I like some of the other answers here. I'm trying to think of myself. Mine is what would I say for mine? It used to be the boar. That used to be one I just forgot about for ages because I always went on the berries as I was on a berry civ for the longest time. And now playing Roost, I'm like, the boar is so important. I'm thinking, even when I play English or HRE, it's so rare, or even French, I just don't usually think about the boar. I always go for the deer. So that's been one that for me, rediscovering the boar has been kind of fun, honestly. That's a mechanic and a part of the game that I just, if you don't play with it, you just never see it, right? That's been mine.
Season, that was something for me as well, because I came into this season playing a lot of Ottomans and Abbasids. And so when I started playing Jeanne d'Arc, just forgetting like, why am I not taking this like amazing food resource? Because it's something I typically wouldn't go out to do with the other civs.
Yeah.
I've casted games before where the Ottoman went out for the boar.
Oh.
Yes, it was Loyal Legends. It was the finals, actually. It was amazing.
No.
Good history lesson. So, what religion did the Ottoman Empire have?
Yeah, I feel like, good. Look, we've got a history lesson right here. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Maybe the big crescent on their flag might have tipped you off.
Given a clue. You might know that is an Islamic associated
They're worshipping the moon.
Muslims. That's a symbol. Yeah. Not what that's for. That's funny. Bonfire. I forget that one all the time. Actually, palings for English. It's bonfire, and even the palings for archers. I just totally forget that exists.
I'm so bad at using them.
Arbitré for French, having the shield things that they do for the arbitré. I forget that exists all the time.
That I never forget. I love arbalists. They're so great at like everything they do. They're so good.
They're crazy. They're crazy. They're really underrated for how good they really are. I like some of the answers too. Someone says tithe barns. That's one that I actually don't forget. Mostly because I feel like some people mispronounce that word a lot. It's tithe barns. That's how it's pronounced. Some people say like tithy, and I always kind of giggle when I hear that because it just sounds really different. It's tithe barns. That's one that I always click up because I used to love getting relics as HRE and going Imperial. That's a big one. Those resources you get huge late game. Some people here say
we're going to say 14th century bishop. Confirmed.
Confess your sins, my son. I'm not balding yet, so we're good. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things. Someone says guild hall. Ooh, that's one not to have. You don't want to forget that one. Yeah, so that's fun. It's a fun thing to think of. Like, there's some mechanics that we just kind of forget when we play the game. Let's see what else. Next question down the line here. It says how to win versus English as English. I just thought this was a really funny question. I don't want to read the whole thing. It's quite a long spiel, but I just want to say, like, I think this is a kind of an interesting thought, and I don't want to keep it just what we will answer just English versus English, what you do, but moreover, in mirror matches, I think this is kind of a bigger, like, could be a bigger topic, right? Like, how do you, like, I think a mirror match is one of the best tests of skill versus skill because you have no advantages over your opponent at that point, right? There's no civ advantage that your opponent doesn't have. There's some of the most interesting and boring games to watch at the same time, depending on the matchup. I'll send that one to you guys. What do you guys think? English versus English, first of all, what would you do? And then maybe a broader sense, what are you looking at for mirror matches to win?
So much more OP when they do it.
It really is.
I try to kill more longbows than they can kill my longbows. That's typically how I try to win that one. Yeah, although I used to I've done it a few times, just throwing out a nice little Abbey of memes, trying to catch the other English player off guard.
Ooh, that's fun.
Anticipating that they're just going to go longbows for a while, get that king out on the field, get some weird little raids in, But I don't think that's optimal. I think it is just don't lose as many longbows as any more than you've killed.
Yeah. With like mirror matches in particular, like the differences are that your build order will shine a lot more than with with English versus like say like another civ. Like when it's not a mirror match, the differences of your build order compared to another player doing the same civ are going to be different. But with a mirror match, like the differences in your build order that like because when you're comparing yourself English to English player or Delhi to Delhi player, like the little differences are very magnified. Whereas another civ, like the bonuses are still kind of there and the matchup stays kind of the same regardless of the small tweaks. But in the 1v1s, like for instance, for English, what I like to do, I obviously what you said, Beale, you just got to win the longbow fight. You got to have better micro. You got to be a better player just in general. I like to try if you can swing it, mixing in just a couple men-at-arms a little early, just to tank a little bit and get on that front line and harry the archers before they get a chance. If you can keep your archer mass at the same level as your opponents and then just sprinkle like 3 men-at-arms in there, that can have a big effect if you can just kind of swing that and catch them off guard, mixing up your comp just ever so slightly. That could work. Depends on the level they'll play. I mean,
if feudal goes late enough, for sure. But like if you mix them in too early, then I have way more longbows than you, and
exactly.
I will pick off your longbows and then just kite them at arms.
No, exactly. I would definitely say it's definitely for like if you've been playing feudal for a bit. I've noticed if you're going feudal age for a while and it's definitely like a feudal slog, whoever starts mixing in men-at-arms first, then provided you don't go too early, like Beale said, and can keep up the constant production of archers or longbows. Once you get the couple, that slight tech switch can catch your opponent off guard. That's actually a big thing to keep in mind in general too. Is like when you tech switch, you're going to get a small window where your opponent's not going to be able to switch into it as well unless they have a really good read on that, right? Because some players will have a good sense of, hey, this guy's wanting to try. I can tell he's going to want to switch into this tech instead. So I therefore need to also switch into this tech to counter that potential switch. But if you can catch your opponent with a tech change before they get there, that could be really that's a really good thing to know, have a gain sense of when to do that as a player. That's really critical to breaking through out of gold and out of platinum and getting kind of up into the diamond conch range. That's definitely, I think, what really important is knowing kind of when you need to be thinking about that tech change and then committing to it and actually doing it. Because some people kind of like, it's like that tunnel vision problem, right? You get so tunnel visioned on like where that keeps at in the middle, you forget to kind of raid around or just go around the wall because you get so stuck on one angle of attack. Same thing with like
when you're saying you in that sentence, you're talking about me.
I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about all of us. It's all, I'm you, the listener. You know who you are. You do this. I do this. We all do this. But I think the same thing applies to your
most downvoted episode ever.
Yeah. I think the same thing applies to army composition. Sometimes we like triple down on the same army composition. Oh, Beale, we saw this yesterday. So how many times do we see samurai?
Yeah.
When that just wasn't the play anymore.
Multiple games. Yeah. Observing Japanese in low elo legends where they were just so dead set on making samurai when that was not the unit at all that they needed.
Mass samurai into mass crossbows.
Mass samurai into mass sofa.
Yeah, that's a little painful.
Yep. Yep. It was. It really was. It was like, man, a couple spears maybe, and then switch into Onamusha. Right, Onamusha would have been the way to go, like all day. Yeah, I think a tunnel vision, it could be we could have a whole episode just about tunnel visioning on multiple things. That'd be my tip. I don't want to get too into the nitty gritty of English versus English, but yeah, beat more longbows.
I'm stuck in like 3 seasons ago English Mirror, where you would scout if your opponent actually does 1TC all in, and if he does, well, you kind of have to follow suit. But otherwise, you just both players just go 2TC, fast castle, knights,
and it's just a slog. It's awful. It's who can raid better. This one is posted. This next post is posted by Drawn to Life from a day ago. It's got no. This guy's kind of malding a little bit. He's got no votes. I'll give him a little upvote to make him feel better. Now he's got one upvote. It's Reddit. He has been downvoted almost into oblivion if it weren't for me to save him here. He says, Deer Hunt versus Roos. I am so done with clicking deer. Despite frustrations with more significant balances of issues of late, my greatest annoyance arises when facing Roos. Suddenly then, against my will, I'm forced into a tedious minigame, obligated to scour the map for deer and wolves. It is highly RNG and APM dependent, it's a distraction, and it's oh so boring. And all the while knowing that my Roos opponent has an advantage here with more scouts and less disruption to his build order. Even on the rare occasions when I opt to play as Roos, I still find this task loathsome. Can't there be some alternative to the system, perhaps something more logical than slaughtering all the wildlife? Maybe something that's just a little more enjoyable. Any ideas? First of all, like if you don't like doing that, don't play Roos. Clearly. Second of all, I understand his sentiment though.
Are there any ideas? Is my question.
Good question. I wish the game would auto attack deer once you start killing deer.
Yeah.
Would be way less frustrating if they got their bounty as a bonus when dropping off meat at a mill, but it would make current Roos builds. It would nuke current Roos builds since it would be a slower trickle of gold across the game instead of a burst in the beginning. That's an interesting thought. You could all you have to do is shift queue up the deer. Someone just saying stop complaining. No one forces you to do anything. This one's a bit disingenuous. He says no one forces you to do anything. You don't have to play optimally. The game rightly rewards you for doing so. It's like, well, if it rewards you to do so and you want to be good and win, you have to play. It is forcing you. There's a thing about this game. Every civilization has advantages and disadvantages, and to exploit the advantages, sometimes you have to do a little more planning in micro. If you don't want to play as the Roos, pick a different civ. If you're burnt out of the game, there's a million real world activities you can do. People are being kind of rude and just saying, just touch grass. I actually understand the sentiment though, because people complain all the time that, oh, well, this civ is forcing me to do something. I feel like a couple civs have this, right? Where you have to respect certain things and do certain things. Roos is kind of annoying. Like you do have to, there are two types of civs in this game. I'm going to break it down just two. For this example, there are civs that dictate what your opponent has to do, and there are civs that don't. There are reactionary civs and civs that set the game plan, right? So, for instance, Roos is one of those civs, right? They are setting the tone. They are going to go for those deer, and if you don't do it, you are automatically at a disadvantage. You have to react to that, and usually you have to change your build order by building a second scout. Is that optimal? No. Does Roos get an extra edge because of that? Yes, kind of. You can't deny. If you do it right, you could hurt Roos for their greed, but at the end, you're not really getting anything out of it. They're getting more out of that interaction. So other civs are kind of like this. I think of like, it used to be like French could raid you, right? Going against French meant you had to adjust your build order to expect feudal pressure immediately. I'm trying to think what other civs like do that. There's a couple of civs that kind of set what the game is going to be about, right? Some games are about the relics. Some games, like against Delhi, you're playing like the sacred site game. Like whether you want to or not, you have to.
Mongols Tower Rush.
Yeah, Mongols Tower Rush, great example. Or trade even, the trade wing even. Like you have to either disrupt the trade or deal with the Tower Rush, usually both. There's no getting around that. So I get the frustration with that because not every civ does set the tone that way. But I would argue civs that do tend to be on the better side of the list of civs. I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on this? Because obviously, like, I mean, it's part of the game. You just got to kind of accept that. But I understand the frustration with it. I understand it at least.
Yeah. I don't hate having to go after deer packs against Roos. I do dislike the fact that I have to optimally build a second scout and be down a villager compared to Roos at the beginning. It's like a debuff against you. It's not just a buff for the Roos. It is kind of a debuff against the civ that's playing against them. And I don't really know how to fix it, but I also don't feel like it's that big of an issue.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of thing
I agree with that.
Yeah,
like my issue with the current version of having to deny bounty versus a Roos player is I did enjoy the little micro battles with the scouts, but now that animation canceling is a thing again, I no longer do that. Like, I'm not a fan of the mechanic currently.
Yeah. I've been like,
that's hopefully getting fixed.
Being someone who's like learning Roos, everyone's like, oh, you got to learn how to animation cancel. And the part of me is like, well, I'm trying. It's not easy to do. You really got to kind of like sit down and learn it. And so most often I just don't even try. I'm just kind of just clicking just to see if I get lucky with the animation cancel. I'm not really trying to learn it because it is an exploit essentially. It really is. And that's an interesting thing to talk about too.
I'm not bad at it. I just don't like it. I don't think it should be in the game, and that's that.
Right. And I think that comes down to like different design philosophies between AoE 2 and AoE 4, where AoE 2 has a lot of like, okay, I'm going to micro out of the way of arrow shots, and I'm going to do like I'm going to build, my walls are going to be built out of houses around my lumber camps. And those are things I don't personally enjoy.
Yeah. This translation is actually really great to our next post. If you guys don't mind me just interjecting just a little bit. The next post is from Fit Freedom 8650 from 2 days ago. And it's a poll, but it is fish deleting bug abuse. When you build a dock or a wall on a shoreline fish, it will disappear. You don't have to finish the buildings, just start building and then cancel. This is especially impactful on maps like Himanama or Rocky River. And the answer is, that's an interesting question, because that's a very specific one where tourneys have banned that, right? A lot of tourneys have said that is a exploit, do not do it. Is it there? Is it meant to be an exploit? Is it allowed? Like what, and to me, the broader question kind of is what is considered an exploit and what is game design, right? Because that animation canceling, I think we're kind of all of us here in this podcast agreeing that that's an exploit, essentially. Like that should not be in the game. We don't think it's a good part of the game. Microing to the deer is already enough, right? They've addressed it once before. Now it's back again. It shouldn't be there. I think this fish deleting one is an interesting thought too, because it does feel kind of cheesy to, but because here's the thing. I draw the line at the
build
fish.
Build a long palisade wall on canal and just
to me, that
deny a bunch of fish.
That to me feels like an exploit. However, slaying the boar does not feel like that to me. I feel like
sorry, after you build.
Okay, I feel like the tournaments may have come around on other civs, like Islamic civs, the leading boar. I feel like, honestly, I don't know why it's not in the game, but the elegant solution would be, yes, let Islamic civs kill the boar, but the boar stays on the ground and has the food. It doesn't just get deleted. Like that would be
pretty obvious. Obviously,
that would be the clear solution for that.
Because it does a couple things, right? Because I don't right now, even now with it being deleted, that deletion's a little bit cheesy. But when you're trying to deny both, not only it used to be just denying the bounty from Roos and the food, which it hurts, but also for Joan of Arc now and the XP, that's also a big part of the game now that you're going to see a lot. So 2 civs require killing the boar for more than just the food. So I maybe leave the food, or maybe even have the food be cut in half. Maybe meet it in the middle. Maybe it's if they feel like it's meant to be a part of denial, because I think that being able to deny something like that makes sense. But dropping the things, dropping the walls and then canceling it to do that. If you drop the wall and it stays there, like if you canceled it and the fish came back, I'd be okay with it. But if you,
I feel like the fish do come back now. Do they? I feel like
they don't.
Because if they did, then I would feel fine with it. Because then in order to deny it, you'd have to let the wood stand. Because then you have to pay wood to deny the food, and then I'm okay with it. Because then it's a strategic choice, right? You're not just getting it for free. You're not doing it just for nothing. That would be where I would draw the line.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I did think there was a patch that if you destroyed the building, then the fish would reappear.
They patched that so that like if you place a dock like close to a shoreline fish, it does not automatically like delete everything in a 3 kilometer radius. That is a lot of range for those American heathen out of there. But it's essentially still, if you place it on top of a fish school, it will disappear.
Okay. Yeah. The fix is patch it so that the fish will reappear. Even then, I still, it's a weird, how do you, because there are situations where you do want to drop a dock in a spot and there's fish like everywhere on the coast. So you have to delete something. So you can't just make it so that
you can't delete it.
You can't place buildings on where fish are.
I think I think maybe just changing it so that if you immediately cancel the building, or if you destroy the building, it comes back after a couple seconds. I think would be a nice choice.
I like that solution. When I saw that post, I was considering voting or like writing anything about it, and decided against it because it's Reddit and nobody's going to care anyway. Yeah. So the thing that annoyed me about it is I think this is not really intended behavior, but I wouldn't call it a bug abuse. It is just very bad mannered.
Yeah, it is. And there's a reason it's not in tournaments and they don't allow it, because it just feels not very sportsmanlike in a way, which I say that and I kind of think I have a little voice in my head going, Socerton, like all's fair in love and war, right? Like if you're not actually cheating, you're not doing some kind of third party way to cheat this game. You're just playing with what the mechanics in game allow you to do. So if that's the case, shouldn't everything be allowed? Shouldn't that be okay? I mean, I agree that certain things.
The mechanic, there's no counterplay.
Yeah,
right.
I'm just
gonna drop down a palisade. I'm gonna spend 1 second starting to build it. The fish is disappearing. I'm canceling the palisade and moving on.
There's no counterplay.
The fish is gone. Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel like if you delete that, that's why I like the idea of it. If you want it, if it's already in the game, make it a mechanic and make it legit. So like if you're denying the boar for the food, make it lose half health. Or if you, I think that, because otherwise I think there needs to be some kind of counterplay for stuff like that. Yeah, it's an interesting question. There's a lot of debate that we could talk about. I think the easiest fix for the fish, at least, is to, if you want to invest the wood to keep it there, sure, and then delete it, and then it maybe just comes back after a bit. And if you just cancel it before it's built, then it doesn't even disappear. That'd be the way to fix it, I think. So you can't just exploit it. Because yeah, it is kind of exploitative. All right, we've got 3 more to go through. We're almost there. Let's keep going. We got this. We're doing really good. What is the counter to Dark Age Villager Rush? Sugar Scoot posted this 3 days ago. I just played the game as Japan as English. I scouted 5 vills. Moving out, I immediately start gathering wood to place a tower on my gold so I don't get denied age up. English still kills 2 of my vills that are working on putting up a tower. English player eventually ages up with Council Hall outside my base at the edge of the map, puts walls around it, and harasses me with longbows while I try to get some samurai out. If I chase longbows with samurai, he retreats to the walls. This feels unfair, unfun. I will say, first of all, I think English has an advantage over Japanese in the matchup already. I think that's a tough matchup for Japanese, one of the rare ones that's really hard for them. Also, this is a tough strat, and you're going to see it more and more because it's a very powerful Dark Age Rush, one of the better ones in the game by far. So what would you guys do?
Well,
get 200
gold enough gold and I ignore it.
Yeah.
I think Bella, shout out to Bella with the little heart at the end in the low elo legends yesterday. She got tower rushed it was like all of her gold was gone. Like 2 gold veins were next to each other on Frisian marshes. And the Mongol player dropped the tower right on it. She already had the gold to age up to H2. She was playing as French and managed to pop out some horsemen and just kept her cool. Eventually pulled the vills when the Mongol player really didn't reinforce that position, just kind of dropped the tower and then, called it a day. Eventually she pulled the vills later with some horsemen and torched it down and reclaimed the gold, but she kept her cool at first. I think that's step 1, right? Is just keep your cool. Don't panic.
I mean, if especially if you scout it out way ahead of time, you have a nice little smile on your face that like, okay, I'm going to get the 200 gold now and then go to food. And, there's so much idle time that the English just invested into something that they're not going to get really anything out of.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say this from a very high horse of just dying to this versus Beastie, but I feel like it might not have been the Villager Rush only. because I did scout it out. That is the first thing that you do. You just move your scout straight across the map, and if you meet villagers, well, congratulations, you did the first step right, and you can now counter it. Because if they blindside you with it and you don't have the gold to age up, then it's going to become a nightmare.
Now, I will say this kind of plays into that again. Certain civs make you react certain ways. I have had to start doing this where it's like against Order of the Dragon. You have to respect the fact that they can Dark Age rush you, and they might. It's a very good chance they might. Same with like Mongols. Mongols, everyone knows they're probably going to do it, so you're already on the lookout. English, I think you need to be on the lookout. It's like going Rus. It's like Rus, you have to build a second scout. You have to respect the bounty game. You just have to. English, you've got to respect that they could Vil rush you. If it catches you off guard, it's one of those things like everyone learns it once. It happens to everyone once. For me, I was as Ottomans on Prairie, got Vil rush, and I realized my free spears could do diddly crap because they have 5 arrow damage and he had 5 of them. I couldn't fight that. He had the arrow damage with the villagers. So everyone learns that once. Like everyone gets like rushed with like 1 million scouts in their base, gets like landmark rushed once. Like it's part of the game is learning that. And then after that, you just have to respect certain things. And you just got to know that. That's just part of the game. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just one more thing on that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many low elo legends games or like lower elo plays or even higher elo plays I have to watch where people react to a villager moving towards their base in the Dark Age. And their reaction is, I am going to put a tower next to my resource, and that is going to save me. It just doesn't. It just does not, because all that guy will do is he's going to move on the other side of that resource. He's going to put his own tower up, and your resource is still denied. Congratulations, you just wasted 100 wood.
Yeah. Like a tower can help, but it definitely doesn't mean you're safe by any means. Like they can still tower it.
Unless your spawn is amazing at that, one tower will block off all angles. Like a tower does not save you from a tower.
Yeah, that's true. You know, sometimes there are spots where it can work out kind of well if you have a good spawn. But yeah, you gotta have a plan B. You gotta expect that it's gonna be he's gonna be behind, but you're gonna have that denied for a bit. No, that's a good point. Next post here. We're almost done through these. Do Doubt 368. Another English question, but I don't want to focus on the English part so much. He says English 1 to 2 TC, 3 TC, or feudal pressure. And I want to expand that to kind of more other civs that have the option to do either of these strats. When is it good to go 2 TC, 3 TC, or feudal pressure? Like, I just want to have a quick discussion of when you should be thinking about those kind of things and how you should go about making those decisions. So I'll you guys can go first on this one. I don't really have any big thoughts on this right at the moment.
That is a big question. That is essentially like, I'll answer this with saying that is a lot of game knowledge you're gonna assume there.
Yeah, I feel like, if you're going against a civ where feudal pressure really isn't going to do much of anything because of how timings work out, then go 2 TC and just get the better economy going. But it really is it depends. It really depends on what's
I can speak to the difference. Let's narrow this down a little bit. I've got an idea. I have a thought on this. I'll narrow it down just a little bit. We're about out of time, so we'll try and go quick. But I just want to have I've got a thought on this. So let's say that my plan is to 2 TC. I'm playing Roos, so let's assume I'm always going 2 TC, right? Let's say I'm going against like Askallad, right? Let's say I load into an Askallad game. He's probably going to 2 TC, and I see he's probably going to go 2 TC as well. He's on the stone. He knows we're both 2 TCing up. At that instance, I'm thinking about 3 TCs, right? Because I know Askallad already has cheaper villagers. I know they're going for that 2 TC game. They've got camels to worry about at some point. I'm thinking, I don't know if I really want to, I kind of want to out boom still. That's an instance I might go 3 TCs.
When I played Askallad a lot against Roos, you could try that, but honestly, just getting some knights in the Askald's base and like really disrupting their economy. Because against Askallad, you don't want to go into a TC war because
not really. I guess let me rephrase that too a little bit. Like I don't usually go immediately 3 TCs either. I think that's one misconception. I don't usually go 3 in a row. It's 2 TCs, and then I'm playing feudal for a bit, and I'm actually committing to, like you said, some knights. I probably should have specified that. Like, you're going to be playing feudal knights, and then if I feel comfortable, there comes a point where you either decide, am I going to have to take this into castle, or do I want to get some more eco, or am I going to double down my feudal pressure? I do have that conversation with myself though, like where if I'm getting some good raids in, maybe I should drop another TC, and I could really ramp up my economy, and I could really kind of get things going, or maybe I have enough. I should move into Castle Age. I think you got to kind of keep an eye on your macro, because sometimes the macro kind of slips away a little bit, right? I've noticed that sometimes my macro mistakes will decide what I want to do next. Like, let's say if I've been playing lots of knights, so I've got no food, no gold, I can't go castle anytime soon because I'm 2 TC and really heavy into knights. Usually I'll end up floating as Roos. I'll float a ton of wood, and I'll be like, well, I could just move 6 vills off, like half the wood vills off, go onto stone, drop another TC in a bit, and then eventually, whenever I decide to stop making units, I can maybe get into Castle Age. So sometimes I let my macro mistakes make my decisions for me.
6 on wood.
6 on wood?
6 on wood. No more.
No more? That's good to know. I mean, usually I'm popping a lot more onto food and gold because I'm constantly popping out knights, but I'm trying to build the infrastructure as well to do that. So yeah, sometimes I'll keep that. Let me write that down. 6 on wood. I know.
So that will give you houses constantly when you need them, and that will also give you like extra production buildings about the time you need them, and it will give you a blacksmith.
Well, today I learned. There we go. Because I've had the point where I'll have like 12 or like 8 or 9, 10 on wood, somewhere in that range. And it's like, I've got a little extra wood. I'm sitting on extra 400 wood. I really should just spend it on something. And can be a good idea. But yeah, that's
I just want to assume we are all guilty of this, but usually on most civs, when I am making new vills and I don't have a specific goal right at that instance, and you should always have a specific goal if we're being honest, but sometimes we're not
perfect. Yeah, we're not beastie cutie here.
Then I just rally to wood.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
Wood is my default rally. That's my default, for sure.
Which is why sometimes I'm sitting there with like, I've got a ton of wood. Because my big thing is if I realize I'm floating something, I want to spend it. Like the sooner I spend it, the sooner I get some of that lost time back, And a TC, it's 400 wood's a pretty big investment. So sometimes I'm like, I could do that. Like, especially if I have sometimes I'll have like 1 or 2 on stone just for like maybe like adding arrow slits, but I'll leave them on there and forget about them. So I've got like 150 stone. I'm like, I can just pull off, go on stone for just a moment. Boom. And then I can just drop that TC. And it's like I was planning that the entire time. I think it's
macro
important
mistakes into macro miracles.
I think that's a great way to look at it though, right? Like sometimes sometimes that kills you. If you are floating a ton of resources and you just happen to, let's say you're in Castle Age and like, oh shoot, I have enough to go Imperial. Let me just do that. That could be a bad idea, right? That may not be the right idea depending on how the battles in the field are going. So sometimes that could really bite you in the butt. But I think if you can leverage that and do like, oh, that's a mistake, but I can just pretend I was going for this anyways and make it work, then that could be viable. I think that could be a very viable way of going about it. Maybe not optimal, but viable.
Just want to throw out, we were talking about the Kremlin before, but it is also an eco landmark because of the additional wood.
Maybe they should just take that off of it. Maybe that's the nerf they need, is just get rid of that. Force them to actually build a tower again.
If they do, I don't think... Yeah, that would actually be the hardest nerf that Kremlin could get, I feel like, if it does no longer provide the wooden fortress buff. Because then it actually hurts your momentum massively going Kremlin.
That'd be a big... Instead, leave everything else the same. Leave the gremlins alone. And just get rid of that. Or nerf the effect it has by a lot or something. Yeah, that could...
Like, I genuinely think then most people would go back to Golden Gate.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, last... I'm thinking about that now, but I don't want to go into too much into discussion on it because we've already talked a lot about it. And it's almost... we're going a little bit late here. Let's try and finish up here. Last post before we dive into some extra sheep. I do have my one extra sheep, but this one's by Zamataro 4 days ago. Can someone please explain to me why Ayubids have low win rate at later stages of the game, or is it just low elo problem? And the answer is because they're all about timing. They're all about timing, and once after they go late castle, they don't have the eco for it. They just don't. If you can match their castle timing and survive their initial push, you're going to be fine, as long as they don't get all the relics and overwhelm you somehow.
Yeah, that graph is perfect for explaining their power spike.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that is, what is it? 10 minutes to 19 minutes. Like right around 65% win rate.
I will say,
there's a little bit of a cliff.
That's a big cliff. I mean, it's still viable. Like 25 minutes in, there's still like a 55% chance. Then it really kind of falls off and dips into a low.
I mean, I feel like the 20 to 29 minute mark before, like as it's descending, is just games where you have definitely crippled the opponent's economy, but they just haven't forfeited yet.
Yeah. I will say, it's funny to me that there's a lot of streamers who really hate, I'm thinking about Tim in particular, who really hate late game. I'm not really, late game is exhausting, but I think the hate towards late game is kind of funny sometimes. Tim in particular, I've got some critiques on Tim's late game play. I definitely feel like, dude, you just got to embrace the chaos,
yeah,
Tim.
We're going to do a Tim.
I love Tim so much. I feel like I can say this. I really do love his stream, and you guys should follow him if you haven't. But he hates late game, and part of me, I'm like, well, like it's easy. You just move all your units, just keep producing, keep throwing, and never let your pop cap dip below 180. Ideally, you should always be at 200, and then just micro your siege only. Just move everything else, micro the siege, try to raid when you can. Tim likes to just raid. He doesn't like taking the big fight is the problem. He doesn't like microing his siege when he does that. He tries to keep microing stuff. He likes horse archers a lot, right? That's his like favorite thing in the world. He likes to just kind of keep raiding and playing with those and do the micro heavy game for that. And it's like, dude, just do that with the siege. But he doesn't like the siege. But it's like, just because you just got to micro them. Anyways.
But I think it's funny that with late game, it is like, I don't like it as much either. Because I do love early aggression and all that. And I love feudal age and how that plays out. It's also, I'd have less practice in late game because just the nature of it. I've played so many games in feudal. Like every game, you can practice feudal. It's more rare to practice how to play in a game situation after the 45-minute mark.
Mm-hmm. No,
you
exactly.
just described my absolute nightmare, by the way. Yeah, both players just hold down that production button and spam infinite resource units into each other while having mass trade or like another infinite resource mechanic going. So you can never actually kill them unless you like actually get a decisive victory.
I mean, the trick though to it is like you gotta take the big fight in the middle, micro your siege, but you also just gotta find at some point. You gotta have the APM for it. Eventually sneak something and try and break through a different spot. You gotta not tunnel vision too hard on the one spot where the fights are. You gotta just break away just a little bit of stuff and get in the backfield. Once you do that, like it's like paper mache, it just crumples all over. It's like those what is it, Prince Rupert drops where if you break a little tiny bit in the back, it just shatters. You're fighting against
an English player that has keeps everywhere.
Yeah, that could be tough. But again, I will say, I mean, it keeps everywhere. That might be a problem. But if there's just like the one Berkshire in the middle, just go around, get some rams, build a siege workshop in the corner, ram down the walls off to the side and get in the back. Like if they have 1,000,000 keeps and it's gone on for 2 hours, that's one thing. But usually it's mostly centered around one spot and you just got to get around.
Okay, listen to my fix here, just real quick. What if instead of having all of your units primed at 99% ready to pop out the moment you dip below the 200 population cap, you start producing them the moment you dip below? You start the timer starts at that moment. So it actually is meaningful what you do with the military you have on the field instead of spamming it into each other.
I mean,
like
that would
every other RTS.
Like any other RTS out there.
That'd be interesting. It would definitely change things.
I mean,
then you run into the problem where a trash army could never. Certain civs will. The one problem with that is that certain civs will just dominate. Trash armies will never work again. You'll have French knights that will just reign supreme. It'll be whatever the highest value unit is just going to win, which already kind of happens with the pop cap, anyways. But then trash army that'd be a huge nerf to trash armies.
Yeah, you're not wrong entirely there. I'd say that's a valid point to make, that like more expensive units become better. But is that a bad thing?
But it also like would solve the problem of like, okay, you're finally there, you're pushing into their base, and now their reinforcement is so much faster than yours because you have the map to travel where they can just all their production, their 20 production buildings are just instantly popping out reinforcements. And with the defender's advantage already from defensive buildings and what have you, you get to their base and it's like, can't end the game right yet.
Well, ideally, here's my counter to that. Ideally, you should have a conga line going into that base where you're constantly producing so much, it doesn't matter anyways, because you've got the flood, the reinforcements already there, and the ones queued up for a minute from now are already popping out and starting their long journey. It should be a conga line of reinforcements. Most often when I see that happen, it's just because they're not queuing up enough. You need to queue up more. And that's the big problem. Is as long as you've queued up enough, it should in theory be a conga line of reinforcements going into their base, and it shouldn't matter.
I just think that the fact that upon death, like another unit pops out and you're fighting in their base is such a huge defender's advantage. And I mean, my play style, I'd like to play aggressively. So
yeah, I guess my thought is like
coming from me, but it's just like,
I guess my thing is like if I'm doing it right, it shouldn't be any different because as I'm creeping forward steadily, I should have that line of reinforcements already equal to what his are. I mean, his are popping out right out of the base, but I've already got a lot more reinforcements coming out as well. Like if I'm losing as long as you don't, I guess the problem is if you're losing your units as fast as your opponent is, then it works out. Otherwise, if you have a huge mass, I can see the problem. If you have a huge mass that isn't dying, that reinforcements gets cut off in the back. And then when your front dies, then the conga line starts again. So I guess I can see that. I can see that. I had one more thought I was going to add to that, but
sorry.
I forgot what I was going to say. Something about a Ubits and something about late game. But anyways, that is the last one we have. We'll take a very, very short break and come back to finish the episode with our brief extra sheeps. Hello, Socerton here. This is the part of the show where I get to chat just you and me. Just a couple of house cleaning things. First of all, we are glad to be back. It has been a very long time, longer than we originally anticipated, and for that, I do want to apologize a little bit for. We weren't planning on taking quite as long of a hiatus as we did, but we did. I think we kind of needed the rest anyways. Sometimes you kind of get into the slog of things. It's nice to kind of kick back and just take a month off. And we kind of, the holidays kind of stretched long, and then we had some stuff pop up, like I've mentioned earlier. But it's good to be back. Glad we got this one up. Hope you guys are enjoying it. And yeah, so we will continue here on out to have more episodes every 2 weeks at most. So, or at minimum. Well, we might do next one. We might have another episode doing next week. I'll feel the waters out. We'll see, because Super Bowl Sunday is kind of a big deal out here. And I don't know if I want to be recording on that day. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we will be regular after that for sure. Like, it's going to start being every 2 weeks. We're going to have stuff planned. We're not going to take nearly as long of a break like that again. Probably not until maybe this end of this year. Maybe we'll take a break like that. Maybe we'll see. But for the rest of the year, pretty much we're back on it. So we are back. I'm sure you guys are probably pretty excited to have been able to have this episode already. Other housekeeping things, as you guys may have recalled from Askallad in the beginning of this episode, the War Chief Club is now monthly. So for those of you wanting to test your mettle in the Open War Chief Club, that is a monthly thing. So in the interim between that, you can do the high level of Rising Empires if you're under that cap. If you're kind of right in that spot where you're like be Conqueror 1, not quite like ready to break into that top 500, definitely do that. If you haven't done Rising Empires either as like a lower Elo player, maybe you're in Gold 2, Gold 3, that's totally fine. Heck, maybe if you're in Silver, you can still take a stab at it. If you're like Platinum through Diamond, it's definitely where you should be at. You should be trying that out at least like once every couple months, right? Let's just go do it. It's a lot of fun. They're really trying to up their quality of production, and they've done just a really good job of keeping those running. I mean, it's really nice that the guys, do that. So I highly recommend. Another quick shout out to our friends over in the fun website that you guys all know, www.morenights.com. That's a fun little thing. We've been doing ads for those for a while, just kind of as a fun gimmicky thing. I really enjoyed what they had. I thought their website was funny, and so the backstory behind that is I just started making ads for it. I don't think we were ever actually official for a while. We just started doing it just because it was funny, like a meme almost. And then they really loved what I did, and so we kind of started collaborating. And now we've got each other's links like in our stuff, so you guys can link over to that. And if you go to their website, we've got a link to the podcast here. So yeah, it's just all fun. I really like those guys. Besides that, I don't have a ton right now. One of these days, I would love to do like a tournament. Haven't really talked to the guys too much about that. We've like vacillated on this before. Like, it'd be really cool to do a tournament focusing on maps that have more sheep, maybe get a special map crafted. I might have mentioned this actually in previous episodes a number of times. It's definitely something that's still in the back of my mind. The hard part is like, what would that look like? Would that be for like low ELO? Would that be just like highest to high? Would we try and get as many of the top dogs as we can? I have no idea what that would look like, but I want to do something like that. But one of these days, we'll maybe get around to it. Life's busy. There's lots of other tournaments to compete with. I don't really want to compete with any of those. So we'll see. But that's definitely something I'd like to do. If anyone's got any good ideas of maps or something like that, just send me a thing in Discord. That'd be great. Speaking of Discord, I don't usually plug this too often, but I do have a Discord for it's basically my Twitch Discord, but it also doubles up as our Extra Sheep Discord. So I'm Socerton on Twitch. You can find links to that in the description of this episode. If you want to send us questions about AoE you want us to talk about, or maybe you have topics or things you really want to hear more of, send us a message. Like, we're there. You can hop in, join our Discord for that. We're pretty responsive. It's like one of the few Discords I actually really like frequent, because the Griot Bar is great. I really love Griot Bar, but there's just a lot of people on there. And so I don't have time to cycle through all of the posts throughout there. Whereas my own Discord's a lot smaller. So if anything specific for the sheep, otherwise, if you want to tag me in the Griot Bar, I will find it. That does ping me. So if you want to ping me for something like that, yeah, ping me, send us questions, send us topics you think we could do, things you think we could make better. Or if you just want to send us good wishes, we love that too. I should plug the Patreon as well. I still do have some stickers and coasters, and by some, I mean I've got like a stack of like 20 each. Still sending those out in pairs. So if you become a member of our Patreon and actually support us with your cold hard cash, I will send that out to you. So the nice thing about how they're kind of small, they're like, it's like imagine like little paper coasters and like stickers, like nothing big. But the nice thing about them being small is I can mail them anywhere. So doesn't matter if you're in Germany, if you're in the UK, if you're in California, if you're in like, I don't know, if you're in Timbuktu, like I literally can just mail it out there. It's 3 stamps for me. It's not a problem. Whether or not it gets there is dependent on your local postal service. But it'll get out of the country at least. I can guarantee you that. Besides that, I think that's about all the housekeeping stuff I have. We really appreciate the fact that you guys are still here listening. That's just great. The support we had and have had from you guys has been just phenomenal. And I've had so many people message me the last week going, "Hey, are you guys coming back?" That I was starting to feel guilty because I wasn't really very committed to just kind of getting it going again. I was kind of relying on everyone else to be like, "Are we doing this or not?" And no one was doing that. And so I realized, oh wait, it's my podcast. I need to be the one to kind of actually schedule. This is the day I'll be here recording. You guys got to be there or not. So I did. So we have this for you guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll send you guys back to the rest of the show with the extra sheeps. And we're back. Time for some extra sheeps. I've got a good one. I will save mine for the end, however. Askallad, do you have an extra sheep?
Oh, don't start with me. Now I have to actually make something up. Like it's super late. My brain is not.
You're not going to speculate about a certain thing.
I can go first.
Okay,
I can go
for it. Go for it.
First.
It got some heavy like doing homework like the morning of in the class as the teacher's coming around to collect it. There's me going on right now.
Can I copy yours?
Extra sheep. It was great watching Lel commentating it. It always is. I feel like I've been out of the game for a little bit. I was looking at AoE 4 Worlds earlier in this episode and my last ranked game was 14 days ago. So I do need to jump back into there, but just observations from Lel. I really want to start playing with Order of the Dragon because those Gilded Spear Dark Age rushes looked so fun for Order of the Dragon to pull off. I love that amount of pressure that early with such a bulky unit. I want to start getting into that. Also, I'd like to, I've been playing a lot of Jeanne d'Arc in the season, but I'd like to play a little French again. Seen some pretty good French plays in Lel, and I kind of miss them. The eco bonuses are like just the villager production compared to Joan. Kind of like to play around with that again because I was big into French back in season 2, and I really like their play style.
They're a fun civ to play. I agree. Alrighty, Askallad, homework's due. Please put it in my box on my desk, please. I'm ready for it.
Oh no. Well, anyway, so since I was stuck playing pseudo Pokemon and oh god, lawsuit incoming. I'm sorry. And Shrouded, and before that Elden Ring, my whole AoE experience is basically a few far in between team games and casting War Chiefs Club. And since Extra Sheep is kind of about learning new things, so I was surprised to see how much people focus on Byzantine berries. Like we said, we had the the math problem earlier with how much resources that actually is if they put a winery on it, but yeah, it felt like players were going out of their way and rushing Byzantines like there was no tomorrow, like it was an actual threat to play against Byzantines these days. Okay, that sounded condescending, and I'm
no. It's fair.
That Anatan played Byzantines in every single one of his best of threes in the War Chiefs Club playoff, and he was the winner.
Yeah,
he only lost against Wham with that.
Byzantines is like, everyone likes to joke that it's like this awful civ. I think you do need to have a lot of skill to use it, but I wouldn't say it's like, I don't look at the Byzantines and just assume I'm going to win the game either. They're in an interesting spot where like I feel like everyone kind of like, no one wants to admit that Byzantines is actually okay in some instances, because they have just they just take so long to get going is the problem. They have a hard time in feudal is all. But I don't think they're are they the worst civ? I don't know if I have a hard time saying that when HRE is out there right now.
I would definitely not say though.
Yeah,
the problem they have on the ladder is like there's a lot of sushi and their food.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of it's. I think if Byzantines were playing against HRE or like a couple other civs that just don't get as much, like Abbasid or like other civs like that, I mean, we
had the matchup of Byzantines versus Rus like four or five times, like yesterday, and Byzantine has a positive win rate.
Wow.
Also because it was Anatan playing.
Yeah.
Hey.
Still, it counts.
He was the only game in that matchup he lost was against Wham, and I feel like he was in a good position mid game, but then kind of dropped the ball going the siege landmark and not making any siege at all. Like he made one cannon that game, and that was it against Masts, Mangonel, and Streltsy, and yeah.
Well, my extra sheep, I am pleased to say, is, well, not really pleased to say. This actually infuriated me. I was playing a game against as Rus against. I actually talked about this earlier today. I talked about it when I was trying to beat Joan of Arc as Rus, and it just felt like I couldn't kill her at all. And she got to age 4. That game, I realized this, and I said right there, "Oh, this is gonna be my extra sheep." And I was kind of mauling about it at the time. But I don't know if anyone. I mean, not everyone might be aware of this. Some of you might be like, "Well, of course, Soccer, you didn't read the patch notes." I guess I didn't. But I did not realize that Joan of Arc, our dear young maiden, Mrs. 10-4 Tim in the flesh. She, I just love invoking 10-4 Tim and everything. But she can capture sacred sites, guys. She can capture sacred sites.
Sure can.
I don't
experience the pop.
That is insane. Like, I just like, to me, when I was happening, I was like, this is a bridge too far. I was like so upset about it. I couldn't believe it. I was just like pulling my hair out at this point, being like, what can she not do?
She cannot carry relics.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, that's okay. One thing she can't do. Great. She's also weak to Springolds in Imperial Age.
Culverins are amazing against Jenny level 4.
Yeah, she's got the weakness because she gains that weakness to that when she becomes essentially a siege unit. So there's like some weird mechanics about Joan of Arc that you got to kind of learn. Those are a couple of them. So that's my extra sheep, is that there's a lot to that unit that I need to figure out.
50 experience to capture, and if it gets decapped, you can recapture it for another 50.
Dude, that's so broken.
What? Okay, they didn't actually cap it, so I can just let my opponent just recap. Oh my god, I'm doing that.
I'm not saying anything about the meditation gardens issue that we brought up earlier, but
it feels a little similar in scent.
Sorry, I didn't pay attention for the last 15 seconds. What happened?
What?
What? Meditation garden? Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, not here. No, we don't talk about that here. Guys, thanks so much for hopping on today. Thank you, the viewer. Welcome back to the show. We're glad to be able to post this for you guys. We will have more episodes coming out every 2 weeks on out as best we can. So till then, have a great. Actually, maybe we'll record next week if we can, because the Super Bowl Sunday's after, and that's kind of a big deal out here in America. So
Lions are up 7-0. We're not going to see Neville's.
Don't tell me anything else. Don't tell me anything else. I'm going to watch that game right now. But I'm really glad to hear that. We might have to record next week, because next week is actually the Pro Bowl, and no one watches that because it's nothing. And then the week after that is the I think next week is so not the 4th, but the 11th is the Super Bowl, I believe. So, or is it the 18th? But we'll be in touch. We'll see. We'll try and make sure we plan around that. Until then, thank you so much. This has been the Extra Cheap. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.